Oh, Wendy Bell Radio is live.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, Shannon, are you watching? So Shannon sent me something for the birthday, and it's been sitting here for 2 weeks, and I didn't talk about it, and I feel really bad, and I'm so sorry,
Really?
Shannon. Yes, and she's from Colorado, and she's like, I just wanted to send you something from Colorado. Why is it every time I start talking, I feel like I've got a bat in the cave?
Let me see.
Okay. Anything in my teeth?
No.
Okay. What a sweet girl. She sends me this hand-painted
Jeez.
bracelet, which is beautiful. And a cute little bag. Take me to Colorado. You're so sweet. And I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
How many
I'm not
states
asking
have you lived in?
I'm not asking you guys to get me anything, so don't. How many states? Well, I was born in Illinois. I was raised in California. I went to college.
I thought you were born in Indiana.
No, Chicago. I was, nice job. I went to college in Colorado. I went to graduate school.
Wait, did your parents meet in Indiana?
No.
Hmm.
Oh, and it's got some like cool, what the hell is that?
That's right, Northwestern.
And yes, so I went to college in Colorado, graduate school in Missouri, first job in New York City, second job in St. Louis,
Missouri.
I lived in Kansas City and then Pittsburgh. Yeah, so just a couple states, 5, something like that.
World traveler.
Yeah, no, but I've seen a lot of states. I'd like to see all of them. Isn't that a shame when you're like, Amsterdam, Australia? What are you talking about? I want to see South Dakota.
I've driven through a lot of states, but never visited.
I want to go to Montana.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I want to go.
That's where you want to fish.
Mm-hmm. I want to go to the Great Lakes. I think that would be phenomenal.
Like Lake Erie?
Mm-hmm. No, like wherever there's good salmon fishing.
Yeah, I think Erie's steelhead.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I'm looking forward to it. Hi, everybody. How are you? $50,000.
What?
$50,000.
Oh. But you
had a second opinion yesterday.
The second opinion guy was like
$7,000 more. Showed me all of the stuff in the attic, all the stuff that was wrong with the house. And I'm like, oh my gosh, honey, we need to do this.
You found out how big your roof was too.
I found out how expensive it is to have a big house.
Yes.
To have a lot of children and to have a big house. And it just goes with having a big house. And then I found out that my taste of having skylights is also quite expensive.
That's really the
they're about $1,500 each, and I have 10 of them, but only 8 that need to be replaced. So
I'm just gonna say
$50,000 literally. So I had to say to Gary Ireland, I had to be like, dude, let's go. But it's all laid out. And
what do you know what shingles you're getting?
I have to verify with him. I have to have a conversation. But anyway, yeah, $50,000.
Midnight Plum.
Anyway,
but
it is what it is, and I'm grateful that I can move money around. And
think about it, you trust who's doing it.
I had to get a set. When somebody gives you a $50,000 estimate,
sure.
If you don't get a second opinion, you're a numbnut, right?
Agreed.
So I did, and the guy was dazzling. He was dazzling. I would have totally gone with him if Gary Ireland wasn't $7,000 cheaper. And Gary Ireland. He verified everything that Gary told me, irrespective of Gary. And so I was very grateful.
I think you always have to get a second opinion.
1-800-NEW-ROOF. I'm going to tell you, your roof is not going to be $50,000.
Unless it's 3,400 square feet and has 8 skylights, then you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, I didn't know what a shite hole it was until the dude put a drone up over it.
That's another thing.
I was like,
think about that. I said this to you this morning. You paid off your entire house before you ever had to touch your roof, which is who out there could say that?
And the house is from, I think, 1980. So it's in the original roof. So it's 46 years old.
So what she's saying is,
maybe it's time. I'm going to shut up and say, okay, Gary Ireland, it's never a good time to need a new roof. It just isn't, but it's not negotiable.
But it is a good time to call 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
1-800-NEW-ROOF, IrelandContracting.com. He's my guy, right? He's my guy. And by the way, that 50, that wasn't like some discount price.
No, no.
So if I'm talking like where I'm talking and I all of a sudden start
Gary, can we do 3 years of free advertising?
Right? If I start doing anything weird. Holy moly. So I didn't take my REM sleep last night, stupidly. Jackass. Woke up at midnight. Hi.
I didn't need it. I was exhausted.
Welcome. Let's rumble. Come on.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to your daily dose of facts to fight off the liberal gaslighting.
You can be in the middle of a hurricane.
You have sanctuary in the city of Chicago.
Or you can be on a calm day. North is still north. You could be in a thunderstorm.
I am angry. We are not going back. Not ever.
North is still north. People can yell at me.
The hell with the Supreme Court. We will defy them.
North is still north. It doesn't change fundamental things. And in this business, right is still right, even if you stand by yourself.
We don't get fooled again. No.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, we are converting the Marxist left 1 hour at a time on the Wendy Bell radio program.
Well, hello, America. Greetings to all of you across the beautiful fruited plain. What an honor and a delight to be with you today. This is the Wendy Bell radio program. I am she. I am a busy mom. I love this country. I'm a conservative. I'm a Catholic. I tell the truth. I like good people. I am not complicated. And this show is not either. We tell the truth always, every single day. And we're going to have some, I don't know, maybe 30,000 foot views of what's going on down here at street level for you, all the way from the Strait of Hormuz to wherever the hell Eric Swalwell is hiding out. Because my, I have never seen a political star crash and burn that fast. If you've ever wondered about the, let's just say it, the swiftness, the expedience of the Democratic machine, watch it on full display. WendyBellRadio.com. It's a great way to join in with us. Live video of the entire 3 hours. If you'd like to see what Brock or I look like or what we do in commercial breaks, get us, download us onto your device and keep coming back. We're delighted that you're here. Thank you so much and welcome home. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. You know, oftentimes in the minutes before we go on the air here, I have a pretty good grip on what I think my monologue is going to be. I'm kind of fussy. Something's happened at home. I'm seeing something out in the community, and we can all chew on it here in live real time. I don't have that today. But I want to encourage you to not necessarily listen to what people say, but to pay attention to what they do. So what do we have going on? And everybody's talking about it. It's the Eric Swalwell situation. And literally, I have an hour and a half of various tidbits that we should chew on regarding the embattled congressman from California, who, by the way, I mean, his least offense right now is alleged mortgage fraud. I mean, chew on that for a minute. Can you imagine what would happen to you if somebody came forward and alleged that you had multiple homes, except neither was your primary residence and you were trying to get away with the fast one, of course? We're going to talk about all that. But all these people distancing themselves from this guy and all kind of pretending that it's a total surprise. A lot of them are like, I'm so surprised. What? He lived a double life? And then others were like, well, it's just a matter of time. I mean, like everybody knew what was going on. It's been 15 years, for God's sakes. And so you're kind of like with this weird whiplash. How can you simultaneously not be aware of something, Nancy Pelosi, and then on the other hand, Ruben Gallego, say, oh, it's just a weird double life. I mean, golly, so wild. Yeah. Meantime, I wanted to tell you what your embattled president is doing. As everybody and his brother in the deep state is doing whatever they can to neutralize his forward momentum. I will remind you, we did just go around the moon. This president is putting the gun proverbially to Iran's head, and he just bring. Hello, this is the White House. Hello, we'd like to talk to the president. Iran has just given a little wrinkle-dingle to the Oval Office and wants to chat with President Trump. Well, here's the deal, Iran. It's a 6-point plan, the first of which is the most important of which. No nuclear ever. Okay? And if you don't want to talk about that, don't waste my time. I'm too busy taking all of your oil and selling it to the world, bringing down the cost of the barrel of oil down to $93 and dropping as we see 171 oil tankers empty, waiting to get to the United States. This is so interesting. Iran's final card was to say, we're going to go willy-nilly. You guys want to start meddling with the Strait? Well, you don't know where the mines are. You don't know what's going to blow up. You don't know how you're going to be harmed. And so what did President Trump do? Send in the Navy, cleared up the mines. They got 28 of them out of the way. You know, those fun little surprises that you hit on your boat and it goes, right? Yeah, they went and cleared all those out. No, thanks to the help of the UK. And then 2 giant boats, whatever they were, warships, I don't even know, monstrosities, sailed right through the Strait of Hormuz, sang to all of the other countries, come on, it looks safe. I think we can do it. Iran is toast. They've got nothing. And they're losing something to the effect of $450 million a day that the United States is playing gatekeeper of the Strait and saying any ship that wants to go in that's an Iranian vessel or is getting oil from Iran, sorry, no pasco, no get gas, right? And then everybody else, or oil, everybody else is coming to the United States. What was it again that President Trump ran on that Joe Biden canceled day number 1 after he put his hand on the Bible, right? Shut down the Keystone Pipeline. Drill, baby, drill. Not only do we have enough oil for all of our needs, we have oil for other countries' needs. We have Venezuela's oil because Maduro FAFO'd, right? We're processing their oil, which is a different kind of viscosity and all this mumbo jumbo. So in the Gulf states, that's what they're doing, churning it through the process. Tanker pulls up, beep, beep, beep. All right, Earl, let's go. Fills it up and off they go. President Trump is making money off of a war with Iran. Iran is losing hundreds of millions of dollars every day. And the world oil supply, which everybody was like, oh my gosh, it's worse than anything, is changing thanks to the president's drill, baby, drill, and the Keystone XL pipeline, among other projects. And in addition to that, while everybody over here is like, Eric Swalwell, who? I don't know who that is. What does he look like? A dirtbag. Well, meantime, did you hear about this huge project going on in Pennsylvania, connecting 2.3 million homes in like Queens and Long Island with lower cost natural gas? What do you think that's going to do, ladies and gentlemen, to everybody's bottom line? You're going to all of a sudden have cheaper gas. You're going to have cheaper ways to heat your house. You're going to see all of these wonderful energy independent projects that lower costs for you and me and raise money for the American everything. That is what this president is doing. as the deep state is scared to freaking death. Oh my gosh. There is no stopping this insanity. We called him crazy, and crazy worked. We called him unfaithful and couldn't get it across the finish line. We called him a Russian asset, and we couldn't even stick the landing there. They're a little upset. A little upset. But President Trump keeps winning. I think the dichotomy is glorious. And if you fly up a little bit, get above the dust of the scuffling war zone, you'll see it too. This president is 24 steps ahead of everybody, bringing down the national debt, working through the courts, this whole idea of these other countries finally paying their fair share to sell their wares here in the to the American people. We are the top consumers on planet Earth. And then you've got judges from every stripe, every city, most of them sanctuaries, of course, doing everything they can to get in his way while simultaneously bouncing criminal, illegal, alien offenders who hurt us and kill our people. Wow. I wasn't sure I had anything to say this morning, but apparently I do. So look, I want you to pay close attention. Don't pay attention to what people are saying. Pay attention to what they are doing. Trump says Iran called, they want a deal. I don't know how much of a deal they're going to get if they don't agree to numero uno. He's controlling the Strait of Hormuz. He's controlling the world's oil supply. And now they're going around Africa to get to the United States to fill up their tankers. It adds 15 days onto the traditional tanker's journey. And all of these people are like, amen, we're not getting blown up. President Trump, with one war, one order, has reordered the order. And the liberals are odd man out. That is the beautiful takeaway of today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to dig in on some of that stuff. We're going to talk about Eric Swalwell, the dumpster fire, except his is radiating toxic waste, right? Everybody trying to get away from him. A little too close for comfort, right? Well, Nancy Pelosi, oh boy, masterclass swamp thing. I can't wait for you to hear what she says. Insider trading. Wait, what? Next on the Wendy Bell radio program. All right. So I kind of want to do two things in one because I think this is just a natural fit. My problem isn't falling asleep. It's getting up to go to the bathroom, which I invariably do because I'm 56 and I don't even have a prostate, but I do it anyway. And then trying to go back to bed. And if I hear Joe snoring or something is in my mind, then my wheels are awake and I'm toast. We got to put some squeaky stuff on this chair. But this is where the healthycell.com/Wendy comes great into play. Healthycell.com's REM sleep is perhaps the most delicious thing you're going to have in your toolkit for rest and relaxation. Take it 45 minutes, maybe a half hour before you go to bed. You're not like all of a sudden going to be like, you just lie down and it's easy for you to kind of drift off, right? And then if you do wake up and need to go to the bathroom or do something, you can go back to bed and fall right back asleep. And honestly, this is irrespective of how many hours you get to sleep. You wake up feeling rested. That's special. That's this from Healthy Cell. Microgel formulations that are 165% more absorbed by your body than normal supplements. Healthycell.com/Wendy. You know how I feel about focus and recall. How you doing? REM sleep. And the first order, I think you get 20% off, which is pretty legit. Oh, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if I can. Maybe at the bottom. Let's do it at the bottom. He's got his WD-40 and the little wand, the thing that you lose always, and you're like, damn it. Where'd that stupid red straw go? Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Right? You hear it?
No.
I do. It's manners.
Why don't you make it louder so everybody can hear it?
I'm not trying to.
How about the Boston mayor, Michelle Wu, just hit delivery drivers with America's first permit system. So you have to have a permit to be able to deliver stuff now. Amazon's exempt. Any way they can screw the little guy.
I don't know why anyone lives in a suck blue sanctuary city. And I know that we love these properties and there's great memories there. I don't want to watch it. It's going to implode. Or just decay. Just decay. Did you hear about the tours, the ecotourism junkets they take people in California to see how bad it is, to see the homeless, the wayward, the addicted, the mentally infirm roaming around? Yeah, they have actual tours to go and see how bad California has been flushed down the commode. There's a big fuzzball right there next to the camera and all. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Hello and welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. Nancy Pelosi in true Crypt Keeper form with her pterodactyl hands that she talks with a lot. She's chewing on some or trying to keep her teeth in. God bless her. She's 1,000. You know, she can't retire. She hasn't made enough money on the stock market yet. So I want to read this to you. So Nancy Pelosi apparently, so she sits down with C-SPAN and they're like, look, we're going to do this thing with C-SPAN. And we're going to ask you a couple questions about Eric Swalwell. She denies the Democrats had any advanced knowledge of Eric Swalwell's behavior. What? Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was asked if she or other Democrats had any advanced knowledge, yada. Absolutely not true. Look, when people speak in absolutes, it's a huge sign. So you can pay attention to their behavior after that and be like, really? I never, ever had sex with that woman, except, you know, that Oval Office thing. Or I never, ever talked to my son about his overseas business dealings. You know, except that the 10% for the big guy. Nancy Pelosi, never, ever. What? Eric Swalwell is gross? He goes to bars and is accused of roofing women and taking them home and raping them? I never knew that. No, that's ridiculous. Let's listen to Nancy Pelosi asked about Eric Swalwell's behavior, and then we'll give you the 1-2 punch, which what she says next is even more rich.
Some Republicans and others are saying that Democrats turned kind of a blind eye, that they knew what he was up to or what the allegations were.
That is absolutely positive. And it's true that they may say that, but it is absolutely not true.
You had no idea?
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. I had none whatsoever.
What happens in California now? He was in many of the polls, the leading candidate.
Yes, he was.
That's gone. There's an army of candidates out there. And California has this quirky law, because it's ranked primaries, right, where you could end up with 2 Republicans on the ballot.
Well, it is.
How does that?
I agree that it is a quirky law. I do not agree that there'll be 2 Republicans at the top.
Wow. So that's where it's going to be. No, absolutely not. Never, ever. So then you're unfamiliar with Mazie Hirono being like stone cold hammered during some of the Senate here. I'm telling you what, I've been here for 1,000 years. This is complete breaking. This is totally breaking news to me, she says. So then they do a video clip. Some constituent of Nancy Pelosi's in California is asking her in the C-SPAN format, what do you think? It's called about the state of politics. What do you feel about this Trust in Congress Act that would basically eliminate insider trading? Listen to the expert twist this around to blame the Trump administration. She'll talk about the executive branch. It must be held to the executive branch as well, because they're making out like bandits. She blames before she conflates twists and weasels out of something. It's very crafty. Let's listen.
Speaker Pelosi, do you support the Trust in Congress Act, the bipartisan bill from Representatives Spanberger and Roy that would ban members of Congress from trading individual stocks or require them to place their assets in a blind trust? And if not, why not?
Well, I think it's a new bill now because Spanberger's
They
not
initially,
here.
but
It's a new bill. But we on the Democratic side have supported the bill, as you described, plus it should include the executive branch. And that's one of the discussions that they're having now, because the executive branch is making out like a bandit. But let me just, because you brought this up, in terms of this, I originally was reluctant on it because I didn't think our members were breaking the law. If they were, they would be prosecuted. So, but because families had investments in the rest, it didn't seem to me to be wrong. But if the public felt that way and the Congress wanted, I was all for the bill. But there was not a majority to pass it, and that's why it was not brought up in.
Absolutely horrendous line of work. Like, can you go to Capitol Hill and not turn into a snake? Legitimately. Is there room for you to be an honorable, hardworking, honest public servant? Is there space for that individual? And how does somebody like Congressman Tim Burchett, how does he survive knowing what he knows, seeing the incompetence, but also the corruption, the cover-ups, and the blackmail and the bribery apparatus? Here's the scary part about Eric Swalwell. So this is all a very manipulated, calculated thing. Random doesn't happen with the Democrats. It's all manipulated and scripted. I'm not so sure they were expecting him to throw in the towel on Congress. I thought they were going to move him out of the gubernatorial thing, see if they could limp him through, get him back into the House, right? So he says, I resign. What leverage does the Democrat Party have over Eric Swalwell? What precludes him from going to anybody in this Trump administration and saying, I've got secrets to spill. What can you offer me? Because first of all, his wife is going to leave him. He doesn't have a house, right? He alleges he does. He doesn't. He doesn't have a place with his kids. He's not going to get his kids. He's going to lose all of that stuff with the House and with his political aspirations. Who's going to hire Eric Swalwell, credibly accused of rape? Who wants that guy, literal dumpster of toxic waste, on the payroll anywhere near their corporate brand? Eric Swalwell has one card to play, and it's the I'll sing like a canary card. I sure hope that he's not feeling suicidal. And I'm not being silly about that. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program. So Swalwell resigns from Congress and will likely be prosecuted for rape next.
What do you bet he goes for whistleblower status?
Wouldn't it be phenomenal? I think you're seeing a lot of things flip around. Iran playing this game, we're going to control it. Trump flipping it around. Oh, yeah? We don't just control it. We control all of your assets now, too. How do you like me now? All of this. It's brilliant.
Well, think about it. You said he's going to need money. You're not wrong. The fact of the matter is whistleblowers under the new law get a cut. So
wow,
maybe
that is a nefarious and fantastic observation.
Maybe he goes and says,
Mr.
"Oh
Schneider.
yeah, there's corruption in California. Look here," and then he cashes.
This is what Adam Schiff told me.
Yeah,
he's the guy they got to put a lid on real fast, whether it's in a burlap bag and he's thrown in the trunk or something. They got to get him to a safe house somewhere. We'll put you in witness protection. You will not escape. said the Democrats to Eric Swalwell. And then we'll just, whatever. It's so freaky. Ghost bed, ghost bed, ghost bed, ghost bed. Okay, so imagine you've taken your REM sleep from healthycell.com/Wendy. Now, it's been about 20, 25 minutes. You're like, you know what, honey? I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to go brush my teeth. You go upstairs, you brush your teeth, wash your face, put on some tulip blooms, jammies, nighty-night onto your ghost bed. Holy moly. You know, and I think the thing that makes ghost bed to me a leg up better than the competition is the owner's story that he felt relegated to invent a line of mattresses because he could not find anything that would give him comfort. He had multiple surgeries, back and neck, multiple problems, years of suffering, and he's like, enough. And so he invented Ghost Bed, ghostbed.com/Wendy. You're going to get an extra discount. Look, these are mattresses that are they're lower end and nicer, higher end, and a whole range in between to fit any budget. These are the ones that show up at your house and you can pay for the concierge service. They'll set it up for you. But you open it up, you break the seal of the plastic, let it open up, and give it a day or two to get its desired firmness, its fluff, and lights out. Nighty-night, 100 sleep night guarantee. That's it. Sleep on it for 100 nights. And if you don't love it, okay, I'll take it back. You'll love it. They're beautiful. Ghostbed.com. Made in America. Made in America. You're not going to feel like a pretzel when you wake up. You're going to wake up without pain and you're going to say, what's taking us this long? Ghostbed.com/Wendy. I really like them. Really, really like them. I had said to our guys at Rumble, a lot of these companies just want to try like a day here and a day there. And it's like, it's hard to get somebody to understand a new product when you're only talking about it for a day, right? And so I said to them it's right under here. This is like when you take your car into the I forgot what I was saying. Oh, yeah. And so I was like, no, right back behind me too. And I'm like, I really don't want Ghost Bed for a day or two. And they're like, okay, 5 days a week, couple weeks a month. I'm like, and I get a Ghost Bed? We're like, yeah, done. No, this is like, what is she doing? This is like that scene on Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Anyway, quickly, let me tell you guys honestly. All right, I'm going to tell you something. This on women, this creepy skin and this creepy, I've been taking collagen for a couple months now, and I should have been drinking it for years. I did not pay attention to the benefits of collagen until I started taking it from Native Path. And it's collagen peptides. Collagen is such an important building block of your body. It's a huge protein. It's the number one most numerous protein in your body. And then, of course, after the age of like 30, it all goes away. And so you're like, so this, Brock puts a scoop of this in my drink, my Dr. Gundry drink. Every single day, we drink 10 grams of collagen. It's never too late to start. Okay. So I'm talking about skin. I'm talking about your cartilage. How about in your joints, your knees, when you walk up the steps, do you get that? It's called crepitus. You get that crackling. This helps with that. Bone strength, hair, skin, and nails, your gut, all of it. And it's cheap. It's the cheapest thing I do. It's up to 45% off. GetNativePath.com/Wendy. Collagen peptides. Don't muck around with it. It's literally the easiest, tasteless thing you could do. Right? Like that.
Hey, Lady in Pink 6 gave you $20. Hope you have a lovely week. I can see the difference in my body or Blood Flow 7.
Yes, I'm telling you, I don't lie.
And neither do I with bumper music.
Oh no.
Just
I'm
saying.
afraid. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. What a delight to be with you. You know, just so strange to watch this Eric Swalwell go down in flames. Clearly, he has exceeded his political usefulness, and there will be some strategy to replace him. This is kind of a net zero loss as Eric Swalwell resigns from Congress, because there's a Republican scumbag who's going to do it too, and then they kind of zero each other out. It's a shame that any political party would look at numbers over the morality of an individual or the illegality of accusations against them. But it is a game, and it's a dirty, disgusting, vicious game. And you have to wonder what's the net effect on these people after serving so many years in Congress. Literally, Nancy Pelosi is a schemer. She's a wheeler and a dealer. She's a blackmailer. She holds the gun with Russian roulette and dares you to pull the trigger. This has been that woman. She has been a congressional predator for years and widely heralded, perhaps one of the most effective for the Democratic Party. That's gross, because you know what's not going on in that you're not paid attention to. It has nothing to do with you. You're a means to an end. You're the piggy bank. You're the reason why they exist ostensibly, but it's all a grift. I always wondered why the presidents look so horrible when they left office. President Trump doesn't seem to look any worse for wear. Remember Obama? He turned white. Joe Biden just became catatonic, right? All right, let's talk about Eric Swalwell resigning from Congress. We'll make this official. Brock sent it to me last night, and I was like, Shazam. That is the fastest political collapse. Major breaking. Eric Swalwell resigns from Congress amid sexual assault allegations, and now we know a fifth accuser is coming forward. It's kind of weird how the Me Too beast is coming around to bite him in the butt, right? Me Too was dumb from the beginning because it invited insecure women, or those who wanted to be in the spotlight, or whatever had as an incentive or an objective, to blow the whistle on any man and be expected to be believed, right? And we watched it play out with Brett Kavanaugh, and I spoke out about it loudly. I was like, this is so dangerous. Well, now anybody and his brother can come out and say Eric Swalwell did this or did that to me. And it's kind of an interesting thing where he's going to get eaten alive by their own leftist push. Democrat Representative Eric Swalwell Monday announced that he will resign from Congress amid sexual assault allegations. The California Democrat apologized to his family and his constituents in a statement Monday. I am deeply sorry to my family, staff, and constituents for mistakes in judgment I've made in my past. However, I must take responsibility and ownership for the mistakes I did make, he said. He says he's aware of efforts to bring an immediate expulsion vote against him. That already happened, so he said. Expelling anybody in Congress without due process within days of an allegation being made is wrong, but it's also wrong for my constituents to have me distracted from my duties. Therefore, I plan to resign my seat in Congress. So the expulsion thing's on the back burner. Anna Paulina Luna was like, pal, I'm here waiting in the wings. If you're not there by 2:00 at the House Ethics, whatever, knocking on the door, being like, hello, I'm here to tender my resignation, I'm on it like white on rice. This is Alex Michelson. He's a program host and correspondent at CNN. And I'm not the only person out there, Brock either, who is really kind of dazzled almost by the quickness of Swalwell being just taken down. Here's Alex Michelson, CNN.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot think of a faster fall from grace in modern political history. I mean, over the course of Friday afternoon, in a span of about 15 minutes, he lost not only the support of, pretty much everybody in the party, but all of his best friends. Ruben Gallego, who had put out statements in the past calling Eric Swalwell his best friend in Congress, put out a statement late this afternoon calling for Eric Swalwell to be expelled. He lost his support over the weekend of his staff, all saying you should drop out, even staffers who potentially could lose their own jobs in the process. So Eric Swalwell left with essentially no support from anyone in any direction. No support to run a campaign, no money, no organization, no message, and no support to even run a congressional office. And so right now, he's left with nothing and no job and potentially, Anderson, criminal charges.
100%. Anna Paulina Luna, Congresswoman, writes, I'm being told there will be more disgusting stuff coming out on Swalwell in the next 24 hours. For the members of Congress who are concerned about optics on expelling Swalwell, I think after the information drops, you will be thinking otherwise. Eric, Anna Paulina Luna writes, why don't you tell us a little about who was filming the video of the female sex worker? Oh, snap. What? So the video that I think got a lot of people, it wasn't CNN sitting down with the woman who said Eric Swalwell gave her a roofie or did something to drug her and then raped her in his hotel room and did so violently so that she was injured. It's the video of what looks like a prostitute sitting on a bed with at least one other man who's filming it on his phone as Eric Swalwell reaches up, his hand is on her breast, and he reaches her mouth to put it onto his and to lay back with her onto the bed. Anna Paulina Luna hits the nail on the head here. Eric, who was with you shooting that video of that female sex worker? And what did you do with her, one wonders? Was that Senator Ruben Gallego? Was that your best friend, Eric Swalwell? Because now Gallego is trying to distance himself from Swalwell's orbit. What is he, a senator from Arizona, I think? We want to know who was filming Swalwell on the bed with an alleged prostitute. Democrat Representative Eric Swalwell's rapid descent from being a member of Congress and a top 2026 California gubernatorial candidate to being neither has been something else to watch play out in real time. This is redstate.com. Went from allegations of sexual harassment to sexual assault to allegations that he violated immigration and employment laws related to his children's nanny. Is all in just a matter of a few days. DHS immediately began investigating the immigration law complaints. We're going to get to that. But amid the various reports about Swalwell has been rumblings about his bestie, Senator Ruben Gallego, the Democrat from Arizona, whom the disgraced soon-to-be former congressman once described as his best friend in the world. Photos of them doing some shirtless camelback riding in Qatar in 2021 during a trip with their wives, right, would seem to further confirm the best friends thing. Gallego was the chairman of Swalwell's failed 2020 presidential campaign. This dude thought he could be president. Well, we didn't have Bill Clinton. He also infamously filed for divorce in 2016 from his first wife when she was 9 months pregnant, Ruben Gallego did, and at a time when he was still a member of the House of Representatives. So, for those who may not be aware, when the sexual harassment allegations first surfaced early last week against Swalwell, Gallego's first response appeared to be to run interference for Swalwell. However, as things heated up, he began a shift in tone, Gallego did, talking about regrets, about being shocked and withdrawing his endorsement of Swalwell's gubernatorial run. And on Monday afternoon, we saw yet another shift from Ruben Gallego, stating that he supported the House Ethics Committee investigation, saying he believes Swalwell should be expelled. And then he was asked this, outside of the house, some facility at the house, maybe it was the house, outside the Capitol. He says he's shocked to learn about this secret double life of his best friend. Like, really?
The man led a double life, and for many, more than 20 congressmen, people that served him for a long time, we had no clue. And look, unlike whatever's happening with Jeffrey Epstein, because since we knew, we all asked for accountability, and we'll continue to ask for accountability. The victims deserve justice. But he literally led a double life and tricked many of us into believing he was something he was not.
The person's cell phone was, the wind in it is terrible. And I beg your pardon for the distraction there. But what he was saying was, you work with people. There are like 20 of us here are totally blindsided by it. You work with someone for so long and it's like, it's like this secret double life. Come on. This is as ridiculous as any woman's best friend not knowing exactly the intimate details of her private life. It's the biggest crock of poo ever, right? So he was outside the Capitol, told a reporter that Swalwell led a double life, never suspected that he was pursuing staffers. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. This is just the first domino to fall, because there are other people who are now going to have to be named. Eric Swalwell can sing like a bird. He can say anything he wants. He can get immunity, possibly. It's his only card left. If you let me off with this mortgage fraud, immigration fraud because of my illegal alien nanny, and you let me off on rape, I don't think that's going to work. I don't know how they're going to be able to do that. But if you can protect me and give me some landing zone somewhere where I can, I don't know, go where Rosie O'Donnell went or Ellen DeGeneres, can I go there and get away? There's nowhere he's going to be able to be in these United States without drawing so much ire and scorn, and rightfully so. Democrats are freaking out. Meantime, in California, Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco are looking at each other saying, well, it's a jungle primary. The top two vote getters advance on to the general election. What do you say? We could probably do a lot of danger together, can't we? What do you want to bet that those two end up working out something where whomever wins does something offering quite a position for the one who loses? And then maybe we could get to the bottom of why California believes that people like Nick Shirley shouldn't be allowed to be journalists and record video in the state of California. Did you hear about that one? They're literally trying to pass a bill banning independent journalism like James O'Keefe and Nick Shirley. Riddle me that for a while. Okay, when we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, and the whole world piles on Eric Swalwell. Let's talk about the DHS investigating the nanny. God, I hate when they break the law, don't you? Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. Oh my. Oh, Eric. Yeah.
A new person came out.
Yes, a fifth, right?
Yeah. He raped me and choked me. And while he was choking me, I lost consciousness.
Is Gloria all read out yet?
And I thought I died. No, I did not consent to any sexual activity. I would never have engaged in a consensual sexual encounter with Eric Swalwell.
So here's that curious little bitch about Me Too. It goes both ways. So if you're going to believe all women except Tara Reid, right? It's almost like it's all garbage. They will do anything to politicize anything, including rape, sexual misconduct, any of that stuff. They're like, well, it happens. What? All right, let's talk. Who do I want to talk about? All right, I'm going to read you my friend Diane's testimonial again. I love this. Dr. Simkovich, Dr. Charles Simkovich, that was like Bond, James Bond, he's a healer. He's like a magic healer. And it's not magic, it's science, but it's science without surgery. There's no syringes, no blood, no cutting, no any of that. And he fixes your brain. How do you fix somebody's brain through the skull? Like how does that work? All the way up in your mouth and your soft palate around your neck, even your ears, pushing you and pulling there. He gets you back into everything back into alignment, and the effects of a concussion or a traumatic brain injury go away. Our friend Diane was talking about the tremors that she had, essential tremors. And on the first day of going to see Dr. Simkovich, not knowing if he was going to be of any assistance, first day of the 4-day treatment, she left feeling as though there had been an enormous weight lifted from her shoulders, and she literally felt like she could hop to the car. She was so excited, and it's gotten better since then. 412-366-3700. 412-366-3700. I've seen what this doctor can do, and he's worth the journey to come to Pennsylvania, to come to Pittsburgh. Call. It costs you nothing to call. And then what they say is, come here for a week. Come here for a week, and we'll fix your life. Period. And that's what they do. I mean, can you imagine going home? How was your day, honey? Well, it was great. I just saved 5 more people's lives. Mine is, how was your day, honey? I'm like, well, I had a bad hair day. So, Diane, thank you for that. It was lovely. I agree. Dr. Simkovich is the real deal. And there's always very interesting Amish people in the waiting room. They're super interesting. Super, super. But they get injured and they go to Dr. Simkovich.
How do people watch The View? Joy Behar claims Jesus never said he was the Messiah. Even the people with Pan on The View had to say, that's exactly what he said. She's just a blubbering idiot. God.
Pan over. That's Gloria Allred.
Is she there? I can't see it.
Isn't that Gloria Allred, or is it her ugly sister? No, sorry. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. You know, I don't know if I've ever shared this story, but when I was back in the day, right out of graduate school, I got a job on national TV for King World Productions. And it was the big parent company of Inside Edition and a program there called American Journal. And American Journal was only a few years old. It had a host named Nancy Glass. And Bill O'Reilly at the time was the host of Inside Edition. I got hired straight out of graduate school as a Generation X reporter. We were like the young people, the anomalies, the weird kids in the newsroom straight out of college who travel the country and every week tell a specific story that is unique to our generation. And we traveled all over the place. The problem was we had a producer who clearly the company was trying to move off to other pastures, who had no business being the producer of our show. He was an alcoholic. He was a chain smoker. He was a malignant personality, and he would drink to the point of having really embarrassing outbursts while we were out and about shooting our stories. I went through the company and then he said some very off-color sexual things to me in front of somebody I was interviewing. And that was it for me. Like, you can say what you want to me. I'm a big girl. But now you're exposing it to other people. And I went to the company. And I went through the chain of command. I went directly to him. I went to his boss. I went to his boss's boss. I went to his boss's boss's boss. And nobody wanted to believe me. I called Gloria Allred, from New York City, Los Angeles, explained my story. Some underling took it, put a squeeze on the station or on the company. All I wanted was the producer gone, right? And they fired me. They fired me and said that I was guilty of sexual assault. that I was doing something. I grabbed somebody's tuchis in the hallway or something like that. The biggest crock of poo ever. I was 4 years old, and I understood how the game worked. Now, the beautiful thing about that is they paid me some settlement. It was negligible. It was maybe $15,000. And after whomever the PA was who worked for Gloria Allred got their cut, I left with $12,000. $12,000, called a moving company. I got a phone call, got a job in St. Louis that day. Planets aligned, just trust the cosmos, right? I had 24 hours, get a mover, fly to St. Louis, buy a car, find an apartment, and it all worked out. How is that possible? I don't know. But I can tell you, I grew up an awful lot during that experience. I understand how women are not treated. And now I see the pendulum switch move all the other different direction, where any woman with any claim about anybody demands, without evidence to be believed, that she should have the power to say something that could potentially ruin somebody else's life. I'm watching another woman here come forward and accuse Eric Swalwell of raping her. This is a very ugly jar of ants that we are currently holding. And they're getting shaken. Look, Eric Swalwell, yes, DHS is investigating why his wife's or his nanny, who's an illegal, who had a visa, expired in 22. She just stayed. She just stayed with the family. It was no big deal. They're investigating that. Yes, that's a story. And I told you we were going to talk about that. But look, there is a time when it comes back to bite you in the butt. And the Democrats right now are getting bitten in the rear end. It's happening in California, right? This jungle primary. They did that specifically to squeeze out Republicans from being able to climb into higher office. And it worked until it didn't. And now California Democrats face a very real prospect of zero candidates for governor for the November general election. That, ladies and gentlemen, might be called justice. That might be called sweet revenge, a twist of fate, a kick in the pants. I don't know, but it's all coming back. Whistleblowers are coming out of the woodwork. People are starting to release more of the files that detail the ridiculous degree to which the Biden administration weaponized the government to go after not just President Trump, because he dared to disrupt their gravy train. They went after anybody who helped him win in 2016, whether it was Catholics, whether it was pro-lifers, right? Whether it was MAGA conservatives, whatever, January Sixers, the knives were out for you. But now it's all coming out, and people are going to have to see what really was going on. You're going to hear from one of these individuals, a California billionaire, coming up in the next hour of the program. That moment where the awakening of how much they've been lied to. That's this next conversation. Don't miss hour 2 of the Wendy Bell radio program next. The filibuster, all of this stuff. Look, if the Republicans don't figure it out, this new Republican Party is going to have to emerge, and it's going to have to replace these losers like Lindsey Graham and all of the other clowns, Rand Paul and Thomas Massie and all these jags. All right, let me talk to you about GLP-1 Gold. I got a great email the other day from a woman who was very upset about her daughter. Her daughter has put on a bunch of weight. This woman, I presume, is in her 70s because her daughter's probably a little bit younger than I, but going through menopause. And she's put on this weight and she feels awful and doesn't feel like anything that she does is moving the needle, right? She feels like no matter what she eats, it's not changing anything. If she goes for a long walk, she doesn't see any of the effects. What do you recommend of your products? And I said to her, I said, it's GLP-1 Gold by Juvenon, bloodflow7.com/Wendy. I think about Juvenon much the way I do the wellness company, in that they look at a system that doesn't work. Big Pharma doesn't work for the American people. It just doesn't. You get boned, prices are high. The transparency is not there, and we have deep distrust. A lot of us do in medicine. Juvenon came out and they're like, you know what, we understand what the problem is with the brain and the gut. And when the two don't communicate, you eat and eat and eat and eat and eat, and you get fat because your brain's not like, woo, I'm full, I better stop. So this is a natural way to get those two things connected again, to get your brain talking to your belly. And this doesn't involve needles. It does not involve wonky side effects. I've not heard of any. And it does not involve long-term rolling of the dice. What are the side effects or long-term effects going to be? Am I going to lose muscle mass? Am I going to be open to some other kind of infection? GLP-1 Gold, this is the weight loss drug of, or supplement, I should say, of Juvenon, bloodflow7.com. Everything there is 30% off for us. Wendy 30. Or just go to bloodflow7.com/Wendy. So it's this, it's GOP, it's Alpha Gold Male, right? And it's my Bloodflow 7. All there. This chair's driving me nuts. Who else put their taxes off until the last moment?
The last moment's tomorrow, correct?
Is that when you're waiting?
No, I have to go today.
I could not do that. How do you do that? I could not. I would be sick to my stomach.
Why?
It's just too much. It's too much, Captain. I can't do it.
I just hand the lady my paperwork and...
And Shazam.
Tells me how bad I'm getting boned by the government.
It's so worth it, though, when you think about all the junkets that you've gotten to pay for Eric Swalwell and Ruben Gallego. Whatever.
It's honestly, I put it off because it's frustrating to know how bad.
Yeah.
We're getting. Like it's honestly, it's like the last thing I want to do.
Super disappointing. Yeah.
Yeah, like you're just like, really, this is. And it costs money to do it. Like
I don't even want to know.
It's probably going to cost me $600 to $700.
Right? It's expensive.
So not only is the government screwing you, someone who can go through and, it's more convenience. Could I go through it? I mean, I'm just W-2'd and everything, and so is Kate. So it's just God forbid you press one button the wrong way or you do something wrong.
Oh, but Eric Swalwell can commit mortgage fraud. Got it.
They're crawling up your skirt.
Right? Hey, April. April, I'm sure you guys were aware of this because it's got to be on your calendar too.
It was mine.
Right? CBD Awareness Month. Totally. I'm on your side. This is the beautiful thing about CBD products. First of all, they're natural because they come from hemp. And you're like, marijuana? And it's like, no, you're not getting high, but you are going to enjoy the medicinal benefits of the plant that people have known about since the beginning of time, right? And it's about time we got on board with it because the healing benefits are fantastic. Sleeping, absolutely. Pain relief, 100%. How about taking a little gummy like this? This is what it looks like. It's covered in little granulated sugar. How about taking one of these when you feel like you're about to lose your mind because you're stressed out? You're completely rattled. You're like, I feel like I'm going to have a panic attack. I hate that feeling. My blood pressure's up. My heart is racing. I'm starting to sweat. What if you could be like, put this bad boy in your mouth, suck it until it dissolves, and just let your body relax? Well, you could. And now you can for up to 60% off everything in the freaking store. CBDistillery.com. Are you kidding me? No, they're not. They're like, we love you. Promo code Rumble. Promo code Rumble. It is their deepest discount, the perfect time to stock up or finally give CBD a try. Think about it. Maybe there's somebody in your life. Maybe there is a mom in your life who's stressed out, right? CBD. CBDistillery.com. Promo code Rumble.
So Boston guy says he's getting 10K back this year. Here's the frustrating
How
part
you
of that.
doing?
That's your money already.
Mhm.
You shouldn't be getting it back. Like
Right.
that's my frustration. It's like
You guys have been getting my interest, which was only 4 cents.
and
but
and on the point of if I script, don't you know how much to take?
Yeah.
Why is it incumbent on me to be able to figure out the tax code when you know what I make?
$4.
Yeah, it's just
We're hoping to bump him up a little bit soon, but it's a little tight.
oh, that would be news to me. So you guys are all in it.
No, I'm saying bumping up from $4. Don't get all horny for some kind of a raise.
Well, wouldn't bumping me up from $4 be a
Well, I
raise?
mean, maybe it's negligible.
Wow.
We'll see.
Just looking for some funds, like
Some fun.
yeah, like like some car funds and
All right, we got to talk about
lunch
these
funds.
These whistleblowers, Brock, are very interesting. I think we got a lot of very interesting stories that are about to drop as we see the very public outward look of bribery and blackmail imploding. That is Eric Swalwell. They all knew damn well what was going on. It's the worst kept secret ever. However, it was allowed to be a secret.
4, 3, 2, 1. Wendy Bell. Inspiring solutions to save America, one show at a time. Are you ready to get on board?
They believe that they can destroy this bond that exists between you and Trump if they somehow make Trump look bad, make Trump look like a reprobate, embarrass you about Trump. They can't do it because you came before Trump. Desperately want Trump gone, and I know that they desperately want it codified, that Trump cannot run again, because make no mistake, they remain scared to death of you, and they remain scared. Separate you from Make America Great Again.
From sea to shining sea, 3 hours of bold truth and excellence. The Wendy Bell Radio Program.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of the Wendy Bell Radio Program is live. I remember where I was when this story was breaking. This just in. Oh my gosh. A whistleblower has come forward alleging that President Trump was trying to get Vladimir Zelensky, who just won the Ukrainian presidency, to investigate his political opponent, Joe Biden. Oh my gosh. And I was walking into the woods with my dog Murphy, and I was listening to Glenn Beck, and I was like, wait, what? Wait, what? Somebody was listening in on a phone call between Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky. And they alleged that they heard Donald Trump offer a quid pro quo to Vladimir Zelensky. Look, got a lot of corruption in your country. Sure would be great for you to get to the bottom of it. And then everybody went haywire. It was pants on fire. Everybody's unease were in a bunch. And then Glenn Beck got, right off the presses. What did Donald Trump do? He said, release the transcript of that phone call. Somebody like a Mike McCormick, a stenographer, they transcribe everything, ladies and gentlemen. They transcribe every daggone word. And he said, what are you going to say, Brock?
They transcribed when Sean was on the show.
Right? Sean Parnell, our friend, and Pete Hegseth's wingman at the Department of War, was on this show with us. And there was somebody there typing out everything he was saying. So what did President Trump say? Unleash the Kraken, okay? Release the words. Tell everybody what I said. He's like, it was a perfect phone call, right? and he released it. And they still went after him. So this whistleblower guy who listened in on this conversation, I believe Eric Charmello was the name they were trying to protect. It's going to come out today because Tulsi Gabbard has dropped some of this stuff. And it's important that they do. I want to read you this. The whistleblower, well, who contacted Democrats before filing a Trump complaint that led to the first impeachment. So wait a minute. If you listen in on a conversation, you hear something and you think you've got something that's compromising, shouldn't you go to the Inspector General, some enforcer of rules and what have you at the White House? No, this individual went to the Democratic Party and they used it as collateral to try to impeach President Trump. Newly declassified transcripts from the intelligence community's then Inspector General show that the whistleblower whose complaint triggered President Donald Trump's first impeachment had prior contact with congressional Democrats before filing the allegation, a newly surfaced and damning detail that was not disclosed in the official complaint form. Wait a minute, what? So this guy was asked, did you tell anybody before you came to us to report this? This guy went to the Democratic Party. He went to congressional Democrats to report what he had thought he heard, and they concocted whatever they did. He lied about that. He didn't include that on his form, and the Inspector General didn't help that along either. The records released Monday following declassification by Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and the House Intelligence Committee shed new light on the origins of the August 2019 complaint centered on Trump's July 25th, 2019 phone call with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. The phone call centered on Trump requesting that Zelensky look into the business dealings of Hunter Biden in Ukraine. Why ever would he have asked about that? It's almost like we all knew, right? Hunter Biden, the Biden crime family syndicate? Nonsense, right? It was so obvious. Well, during a closed-door deposition on October 4th, 2019, then Representative, now CIA Director, John Ratcliffe, pressed Intelligence Community Inspector General Michael Atkinson on the timeline between Trump's phone call and the filing of the complaint roughly 18 days later. Radcliffe asked whether the whistleblower had disclosed prior contact with the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. The answer to that is yes, Atkinson, the Inspector General, replied according to the transcript. Atkinson went on to explain that the initial whistleblower, whose identity was never confirmed by the government, Eric Charmella, did not disclose his contact with Democrats on the form he submitted to the Inspector General's office, despite the form containing a box that said, have you basically told anybody else about this? And he was like, nope. The revelation adds a new layer to longstanding Republican concerns about coordination between the whistleblower and Democratic lawmakers during the beginning of the impeachment inquiry, which was led at the time by then House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff. Okay, so here's what you got, right? You've got this period of time, phone call happens, whistleblower's like, oh my gosh, I heard something. And it's like this timeline gets weirdly manipulated, right? John Solomon said, this is going to be huge. And it's because of our Freedom of Information Act request that we've gotten these details. He says a Biden staffer who's known to lie, this Eric Charmella guy, was part of the Biden campaign. He traveled with Joe Biden, right? He is a sycophant of Joe Biden, and he's your whistleblower. This is the guy that you went to great lengths to protect the identity of. Here's John Solomon from justthenews.com.
As soon as President Trump was cleared on Russia collusion by Bob Mueller, the deep state went right back to work. A CIA analyst filed a complaint that we now know, as of this morning for the first time, was based only on hearsay evidence, was based on a whistleblower who was caught lying, giving a falsehood to his intelligence community recipients, the people who received his whistleblower, who had clear biases, including the fact that he worked for Joe Biden, Donald Trump's likely rival in 2020. And despite all that, they proceeded ahead and forwarded this allegation, these unfounded allegations from a biased and flawed whistleblower to Congress, and then that exculpatory evidence, that evidence that the president could have used to defend himself at the impeachment or the impeachment trial, was kept from the American public, was kept from Congress. Does not look like even his lawyers knew that. How does that happen? Well, you start with a whistleblower that's tied to Joe Biden. That's what these documents that Tulsi Gabbard declassified at our request and gave to us this weekend show. He was a Joe Biden sycophant. He was actually on trips with Joe Biden to Ukraine. He was an advisor to the president. He disliked Republicans. He made fun of Republicans and badmouthed them. He didn't want Devin Nunes to see his complaint in Congress, the then top Republican on House Intelligence. So you have a biased, partisan whistleblower who then gives it to a deep state inspector general, intelligence community inspector general Michael Atkinson, who then decides he's not going to tell Congress the full story about this whistleblower.
Other than that, everything's perfect. So Trump gets impeached over a phone call that he released the transcript to so that you could read it yourself and you could decide if he was doing a quid pro quo. And he wasn't. Audio soundbite number 2, John Solomon says, Tulsi Gabbard, because of our Freedom of Information Act request, released this interview with this biased Inspector General Atkinson about what he knew was wrong and compromising about this whistleblower, a Biden advisor, and this deep state Inspector General who didn't include any of these details in his report, and Trump was impeached.
A few minutes ago, shortly after our story broke overnight, Tulsi Gabbard released to the House Intelligence Committee some new evidence. It's the actual interview of Michael Atkinson. Michael Atkinson's the Inspector General who catches the whistleblower's complaint, disseminates it to Congress, and really kicks off the Ukraine impeachment or Russia collusion 2.0. He did not tell Congress in his interview the full extent of what he knew and what was wrong with the whistleblower. He didn't go into the biases or the Biden angle. All he said was he was a registered Democrat. Didn't give any more detail than that. There were really significant details that people needed to make a judgment on his credibility before we tried to remove a president from office. But that was kept by Atkinson. So these two actors, a CIA analyst tied to Joe Biden and an Intelligence Committee Inspector General, keep the public in the dark.
It's so despicable. And so now you have Harvard Law Professor Emeritus Alan Dershowitz saying the president has every reason to go back and seek to expunge or erase, if you will, his first impeachment. They impeached him twice. Why? Because he was a criminal? No. Because he was a deep state actor? No. Because he was working with Vladimir Putin? No. Because he wasn't any of those things. Because he wasn't part of the swamp. Because he could not be bought. Because he didn't have luggage, laundry, crap, baggage. They tried everything, you guys. They listened in on phone conversations. They followed his computer keystrokes. When that didn't prove fruitful, they invented a Steele dossier and trotted it out there as though it was the real deal. And then when that didn't work, bring, I heard him say something in a phone call. Impeach the MFer, says Rashida Tlaib. So who's the danger? President Trump, whose fingers are clean, or everybody else, including all of the scumbag or Republicans who went along with his impeachment? Well, when we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, let's hear what Alan Dershowitz has to say about it as John Solomon continues his bombshell discovery next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. Can you imagine? And then knowing all of this, and what do you guys think we know?
Nothing.
Maybe 5%, maybe 10%. I would be aware of maybe of what they've tried to do to this president. Think about what he has knowledge-wise. Every time he sits down and he looks at somebody, he knows damn well what they've been trying to do. and he's right in on it. And yet he's like this. He's a brick wall. How's that possible? He doesn't get emotional. He'll drop an F-bomb every now and again just to wake you up and see if you're paying attention. It's pretty remarkable if you think about it. He is a machine whose number one job is to make America great again. Damn him! Tyrant! King! I mean, it's so stupid. WendyLovesGold.com. WendyLovesGold.com. Texas Bullion Exchange. These are my people. This is one of those things. When you call 855-927-5557, this is what you're going to get. You call and you're like, hi. They already know that you're from this show. They're like, hi, Wendy Bell Radio, rock star person. And they're like, and you say, hi, I want that investment kit, the free investment kit, the gold buying guide that you guys are promoting. And they'll say, for sure. Would you like the gold IRA guide? Yes. And it basically walks you through. This is how basic it is, right? This is what they send you. And then they'll talk it over with you on the phone and discuss everything that you could possibly do with gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. I'm just going to read you this. Since the U.S. left the gold standard in 1971, the dollar has lost over 87% of its purchasing power. Meantime, gold has increased over 7,000% in that same time. Our exclusive principal protection program locks in the original value of your gold, so when it's time to sell, you get what you paid for it or more. That's a pretty neat thing. This is what you're going to get. Very basic because it's not complicated. 855-927-5557, WendyLovesGold.com. I'm glad I bought it. I'm glad that I trusted them. I love our partners, WendyLovesGold.com. I think you guys will too. And they'll answer all your questions for you. And you'll be like, finally, now I understand.
According to reports, former Speaker Nancy Pelosi finally called Swalwell on Friday night and told him you have to drop out and resign. On Friday night. Well, yesterday, she didn't know anything about it. Shocked.
It's the first time hearing of it. Wait, he did what? Wait, Bill Clinton likes what?
Doesn't know what the definition of is?
What, is that true? See, everybody kind of gave Bill Clinton a pass because could you blame him? That's not funny. That's terrible. That's terrible.
Factual, but
all right. Remember, are we coming back real fast?
20.
Okay. I'll wait. Eric Charamella. I'm pretty sure that's the dude. They tried so hard to keep him secret. Shh. He's a whistleblower.
Yeah, remember Adam Schiff?
So weird. How did they know each other? Got Ellen Dershowitz, right? This is not necessarily a Trump supporter. I remember when he was at Mar-a-Lago and Trump went over and he was like, dude, I need your help with my first impeachment defense. And Dershowitz was like, and his wife was like, they were at Mar-a-Lago, but they weren't Trumpers. And he's a Democrat. And Trump was like, look, I'm not asking for you to do anything other than to interpret the law and to do what the law says. Would you be on my team? And so he did. And I had great respect for Alan Dershowitz for that, because you try to be blind about your political biases, and it's got to come down to what the law says. And he was successful in that campaign. And Dershowitz, though, says Trump could move now to expunge this 2019 impeachment After release of this bombshell evidence, he's like, look, it's never been done before. I don't see any reason why it could not be done. The famed law professor told Justin, it's never been done before because who's had such a campaign of sneaky, slimy, snaky politics to try to destroy one man who the lion's share of the American people spotted as being an outsider who they could freaking depend on, who wanted to make America great again? Of course. Of course it's not been done before. A sitting president has not been impeached for hearsay political garbage from Eric Charmella before. Let's listen to what John Solomon has to say. He says, look, Alan Dershowitz was one of Trump's impeachment attorneys. He says the weaponizing of the government against President Trump is an absolute travesty.
I interviewed Alan Dershowitz for this story. He was one of the president's impeachment lawyers in 2019. He was a Democrat at the time. He said, listen, in an adversarial justice system, which, by the way, includes impeachment. Impeachment is a judicial proceeding in Congress. In fact, in this case, they were supposed to use the same rules that you use in federal court. They're called the rules of civil procedure. It is incumbent on the government to give up all exculpatory evidence. And that didn't happen here, Alex. Alan Dershowitz said. He said it was a travesty to justice, a travesty to the American people, that the government, particularly Michael Atkinson and this whistleblower, hid this exculpatory evidence from the president, the American people, and quite frankly, the Senate jurors and the House impeachment managers.
Am I living in some naive fantasy land where when you put your hand up in the air and the other on the Bible, and you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, that you mean it? Am I so old school that that's like so yesterday? That doesn't matter. Fauci can lie under oath. Chris Wray can, Hunter Biden can, Bill Clinton can, Hillary Clinton can. Are we also so naive as to believe that if there's information that could benefit you in your defense when you're being prosecuted for something, that you're supposed to get it? Well, as long as it didn't come from the Democrats. Because they will screw you the same way they screwed the January 6ers, the same way they screwed pro-lifers. That story is coming up. It's going to make your eyeballs melt out of your face. John Solomon wraps it up and says, look, Trump would have every single reason in the world to expunge or erase that bogus and highly weaponized impeachment.
I wouldn't be surprised if the name of the whistleblower eventually is released. And I also wouldn't be surprised if you start to see some actions taken based on these revelations. The president or his team could go to the Chief Justice, John Roberts. Remember, John Roberts presided over the impeachment proceedings. He was the trial judge, and say, hey, the Democrats, Adam Schiff, the chief prosecutor, cheated on this. Maybe you should consider erasing or reversing the impeachment. You could also see the FBI or the new Inspector General of the Intelligence Committee take a look at whether what Michael Atkinson did by withholding some of this exculpatory evidence, whether that is a problem, whether it's prosecutable, whether it's an administrative thing. But I think you'll see some significant follow-up to these revelations today.
So Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff, he was the chief impeachment prosecutor. Do you remember his little dream sequence where he was portraying his interpretation of Donald Trump's phone call with Vladimir Zelensky? He was like, let me tell you what's going to happen here. See? Yeah, see? And we were all like, the dude is a freaking lunatic. Yeah, lunatic and corrupt, and he might be the next domino to fall. Oh my! Buckle up. More next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. You guys, and I was totally remiss because I just totally skipped by the GOP rep Tony Gonzalez, who finally now admits, well, actually, I did sleep with that woman. Even though I have 6 kids, I slept with this woman, and, she ended up setting herself on fire and killing herself. Like, I mean, honest to God, she literally needed to become a human inferno, setting herself, on fire in the backyard for her husband, the ashes for her husband and son to see. And he was like, I never had sexual relations with that woman. And we're all like, dude, really? How did that go for Bill Clinton? So he's like, yeah, I think I'll resign from Congress now. So you've got a Republican dirtbag, a Democrat dirtbag, so now you're at whatever. It's so off-putting. It's just so off-putting. And then these people like feign offense. Like, what? Me? Insider trade? I never thought any of my constituents would be doing that. I never dreamed people would be breaking the law doing that, says Nancy Pelosi. Well, I was for investigating it, but they just couldn't get it across the finish line. I don't know why. Really? Kelly Morgan's Fitness, their Richland location here in southwestern Pennsylvania this Saturday, the 18th. Let's see if I printed it out. Let's see. I did not. Kelly Morgan wants to invite you to the 15th or 14th birthday of Morgan's Fitness. This is a serious milestone for her. She started this with her husband, who ended up dying a couple years ago. And she took about a year to figure out what that was going to be like for her, owning 4 gyms and having multiple children to care about and be the sole face and everything of this empire that she and her husband created. And then she dug into bodybuilding, and I think got a lot of her stuff out there in the world. And she's living testimony that you don't have to feel out of control. You don't have to feel like you can't change your body. You don't have to feel the way you do presently. That it's completely changeable, and she'd be happy to help you change it. So Morgain's Fitness, MORGAINZ fitness.com. She says this Saturday, the Richland location, they have everything from booze to food to every hour on the hour exercise classes and great stuff. It's going to be all that. So morgainsfitness.com. All right. Let's see. All right, let's see how we're doing. We're at that halfway point, that sweet spot where we should have 1.5 rumbles. 2.5 rumbles.
Don't look.
I know, you guys, it's 2.04. We have 5,100. Okay, so here's the push and the ask. If you're not one for logging on and giving me a thumbs up, it's super easy to do. All you have to do is just kind of scroll up your picture and just hit that bubble, thumbs up bubble. There's no reason we can't get 500 people right now to do this. And this puts us on the map, as they very rarely give us the big box, but they give it to people like Steven Crowder and Dan Bongino, which is very curious, but okay. So we'll continue knocking it out of the park because of you. Because of you. You guys don't know this. This is inside secret stuff. But we left a job because they wanted you. The place we worked wanted access to our people, our followers, our Facebook people, all of our sponsors. They wanted access to be able to make money off of this relationship that we've had with you. And I said, no. Mm-mm. And that was pretty much it. That was essentially the ball game for me, when they were like, look, you've got access to all these people. We want that access. I'm like, that's my private. I've worked 25 years, 30 years for that. And they're like, we want it. And I said, no. So they went after Brock, and things got ugly, and we moved along and created this. True or no, Brock?
Things got ugly. There was one level-headed person in the room.
Mm-hmm.
That was me.
168 comments. Let's do a comment here. Let's do a question. What's a question we can ask?
I don't know, but that day is the day I learned don't cross Wendy Bell. That day I learned, I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah, they decided to try to target him in a bad way. And so I stood up and I said, if you want to hear the story, you'll have to give us a comment. We have to get to 250 comments. Give me a comment. I love Wendy. She's so sassy.
You know how we always say that escalated fast?
Mm-hmm.
That's not even, it went from 0 to 180 in about a second and a half.
I heard a few comments I didn't like, and I waited on it, and then I snapped.
Oh, you didn't wait very long.
Well, welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. Isn't it wild when you go back? It was 2018, 2019. This stuff was going on. Adam Schiff, chair of House Intelligence Committee, doing his smarmy, lying garbage, presenting a fake news narrative that Donald Trump is some boogeyman, some Russian asset, some deep state evil whisperer lurking in the bushes. And we're all like, no, because I went to his rally and we just really had a good time. And there were a lot of flags. And we were excited to hear from a political candidate who loves America. That's as simple as it was for me. There wasn't a huge deep dive. I've never gotten a good vibe about Adam Schiff, ever. And now that we know the lineage of the story of Russia, crossfire hurricane, after the failed efforts to stymie President Trump's everything, he's a Russian asset. It's like, you know what? We're very basic people. We want few regulations. We want to go live our lives. We want to go make money and not bend over and give a third of it to the government or more. We want to depend on basic things. We want to believe that the government that we allegedly elect listens to us when we speak, because you guys proved to us on January 6th that you didn't. Think about all that you have been through. Think about all that we have been through just in the last decade, since 2016. You know, any Democrat who pretends they didn't know how weaponized their party was against not just President Trump, but against this whole MAGA idea and against conservatives in general who voted for him, any Democrat who pretends they didn't know that it was a coordinated takedown, we'll make up evidence, we'll withhold evidence, we'll do whatever we need to do. We'll find the right judge, we'll judge shop. We'll find the right juries and make sure they know what we want. And then we'll make sure that the prisons, the guards there, rough people up. There is a vengeful, vindictive, ugly underbelly that I think is probably the majority of the body politic in Washington, D.C. And Donald Trump was the one guy who registered for that marathon and said, I will be your voice. I will be your line of defense. I will stand in the trenches. And you will watch them do everything to destroy me, because I am the last thing standing in the way between them and you. And we watched. And some of it was absolutely preposterous. Every single thing, big breaking news. We've got mortar. It was garbage. And the freaking television networks went for it, hook, line, and sinker. ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, all of them, and the papers. The Wall Street Journal took a hard turn to the left. And a lot of us were left standing there saying, holy smokes, this is much worse than I thought. Well, George Washington law professor Jonathan Turley says a whistleblower alleged 9 years ago, that Adam Schiff personally approved classified leaks to target President Trump. What? FBI Director Kash Patel released a bombshell report that a Democratic whistleblower accused California Senator Adam Schiff of approving the leaking of classified information to target President Donald Trump. While this is only the unverified allegation of a single former staffer, the alleged conduct would involve criminal and unethical conduct of the highest order if it's proven. The whistleblower is described as working for the House Intelligence Committee for over 10 years, who reported Schiff's alleged conduct in 2017, according to documents obtained by Just the News. The staffer described Schiff's conduct as treasonous and illegal. Schiff has been previously accused of politicization of intelligence, including his claims after the special counsel rejected the Russia collusion nonsense that he had secret evidence in the committee proving such collusion. He never produced that evidence, and it's widely believed that it did not exist. This is different, though. This would be a premeditated criminal act. It's hard to believe that a player like Adam Schiff would be stupid enough to openly discuss such a criminal act in a staff meeting. However, the fact that the whistleblower made this allegation in a report to the FBI is equally probative. It is a crime to lie to federal investigators. The question we have today is, does that crime apply to both parties equally? Right? Because if you jaywalk as a conservative, you're thrown in prison. If you rape somebody as a criminal illegal alien, you get held for an hour, you get slapped on the wrist and bounced back into society. What is going on? So I want to read you this real fast. When working in this capacity, this is the whistleblower talking about Adam Schiff, reportedly very specific in details on this meeting he was in, listening to Adam Schiff basically tell a group of people around him, we're going to selectively leak some bad information to sully the president and open the door to eventually take him out. When working in this capacity, the redacted staffer's name was called to an all-staff meeting by Adam Schiff. In this meeting, Schiff stated the group would leak classified information which was derogatory to President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Schiff stated the information would be used to indict President Trump. The whistleblower stated this would be illegal, and upon hearing his concerns, unnamed members of the meeting reassured him that they would not be caught leaking classified information. Why not? Why wouldn't you be caught? Why did you think you were going to be able to get away with all of this? Because they did. Well, I want to get to this. Jonathan Turley, he's on with Will Cain yesterday, and they're talking about going back to 2017, 2018. Schiff was chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. By the way, he's the next domino to drop. He has to be. This is going to be way worse because he's a senator, and they need every freaking seat they can get. But there is no way somebody like Eric Swalwell goes down without screaming to the hills all about his experiences with Adam Schiff. Jonathan Turley says, look, Adam Schiff did not have authority to share any information he had, top secret stuff, with anybody. How completely idiotic to share it at a staff meeting, if you will. This tells you how boldly and brazenly the swamp believes it can get away with anything it damn well wants.
Yeah, Schiff was viewed as one of the most political chairs of that committee in its history. And this is a truly chilling account, if true. Now, when I first read it, frankly, I was taken aback because it's perfectly moronic to commit such a felony with a planning conference meeting with staff. That's not usually how things are leaked in Washington, D.C. What makes this different, Will, is that this was a statement made to FBI agents. The person who made this statement was no doubt aware that lying to FBI agents is not just a crime, but a crime that was repeatedly prosecuted during prior administrations, including the Obama and Biden administrations.
Right.
So making this statement puts you at risk. That's why someone's lying here and someone's a felon.
someone's lying here and someone is a felon. Look, we're seeing this cleanup at the DOJ. 4 top prosecutors fired from their jobs. They say on the left that Trump and his DOJ are weaponizing the government against Trump's political enemies. No, what they're doing is they're cleaning house. They registered for the marathon and they are now running the race. This is a dirty slog fest. It is ugly. And people will do anything to avoid leaving the gravy train lifestyle. This president believes that in the next 2.5 years, he has a limited amount of time to expose the deep state, to shrink the size of the federal government, to illuminate and get on trial some of the worst offenders, to show to the American people just how depraved and broken the halls of Congress are, and to fundamentally reshape our election system so that these people cannot determine the outcome. They are very confident. You're only confident if you believe you'll never be found guilty and you'll never lose re-election. Why are they so comfortable? Back to Jonathan Turley, Fox News contributor and George Washington law professor. Will Cain asks, if the whistleblower's accusations are true that this individual was sitting in a meeting with Adam Schiff and staff, and he's like, yo, we've got some juicy tidbits. We're going to, all of this, the intention is to get Trump indicted. That's what we're doing. We're creating the meal of the wrap-up smear. Now we're just asking everybody to come and take a plate and move around the smorgasbord and sample it, and then go spread what we're talking about so it becomes a little bit more mainstream. That's how they led to some of these impeachments, you guys. It's despicable. If the whistleblower's accusations are true, what does Adam Schiff face as a possible penalty for a premeditated criminal act? He's telling his staff, this is what we're going to do. That signifies glaringly premeditation. Listen.
What kind of punishment follows for leaking classified information?
Well, this is a very significant punishment. You can have, in addition to having multiple counts, you can easily go 10 years in terms of a sentence, if not more, depending on the circumstances and the number of violations. Each of these leaks is an individual violation. Each of these documents would likely be charged as a violation. That type of count stacking is precisely what Mueller and others did. Remember, these are these are very similar to the types of claims made against Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago, that he removed material and improperly stored them. There were also allegations that he might have revealed them to third parties. But this is much more serious in one sense. Trump was accused of negligence in most of these counts. This would be a premeditated criminal act to release classified information to damage one's political opponent.
And don't even get me started about the raid at Mar-a-Lago, because we all know what premeditated nightmare that was, all for the optics. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, as Democrat donors begin to wake up that the Democrats aren't worth their money, well, this is very interesting, what Trump is doing in the Strait of Hormuz, as the entire Middle East pays attention, running a marathon. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. Tony Gonzalez, what a dirtbag. God, don't you just dislike people who are scummy? I'm going to try to get through all of this, these two weird bottom segments, Brock. I'm going to try to mush them together so there'll be 3 audio sound bites total. Got it, Wendy? Okay, good.
Got it, Wendy.
So I have to have a conversation with my sister because I sent her a care package of tulip blooms. And I'm sure she was like, wow, massage oil. I don't get massages. What a dumb gift. So I'm going to have to call her and be like, all right, I'm going to tell you the story about this stuff. First of all, put it on your skin. Give it 5 minutes. Putting on your neck. Oh my gosh. I personally think it helps with the old lady neck, which happens after the age of whatever I started noticing. And you're like, son of a mother. it's just so, it just feels good. It feels good. It's not greasy. Let it absorb and see what it does to your skin. I use the velour massaging oil, not for massaging. It's super glidey. So you rub it on and it just feels right. And it absorbs into your skin and your skin stays nourished literally all day long. All day long. I can wash my hands multiple times after using this. It's fantastic on dry cuticles. You get the yucky skin around your fingernails, knuckles, feet, for calluses on your feet, any hard spot. You wash your hands after you put it on, and your hands still feel like $1 million. It seeps into you. tulipblooms.shop/Wendy. tulipblooms.shop/Wendy. And while we were on the last segment, the co-owner of Tulip Blooms got out and reached out in touch with me. Let's see what she says. I have to see.
How many comments did you say you wanted to tell the story?
250 or something. I don't know. Do we have them? No.
We're 305.
All right. Do you want to tell him real fast?
No, you go ahead. No, you go.
The people in the radio station that we were working clearly wanted to get rid of us, right? They wanted me to grow their audience with my, I don't know, whatever, popularity or connections or my relationship that I had created with the people of Pittsburgh with over 20 years being in, or about 20 years in television here locally. And when they had been like, hey, we want access to your Facebook page. We want to monetize your Facebook page. And I was like, that's my Facebook page. And no, you won't. Brock and I built that together, and no, you won't. And basically then they knives out for this one. And the owner of the company said some very demeaning, snide, snippy comments. He let slide. And finally he said something, and I stood up.
Well, what it was
I figured you would hop in here.
So we figured out, and if we run out of time, we figured out that they were secretly monitoring us.
Yeah, they were spying on us. Their cameras, it was all wired.
And because what set her off was something, I always say that they weren't radio people. And one of the arguments that the guy that was working with us, who got fired, I kept telling him they don't know what they don't know. So quit pushing certain things, explain it to them. And when we were going at it, he said some stuff. He goes, I know, you think we don't know what we don't know. And that set this one off. And I said, hey, that's not what I mean. And she just went, I'll tell you the rest. Top of the hour. It was wow.
Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program, my friends. So I want to get to 3 audio sound bites, and I can't tell you that they're necessarily related, but in and of themselves, I think they're very interesting. We're beginning to see more of this scummy little onion get peeled. I'm not surprised that Eric Swalwell is bounced. I'm not surprised that Adam Schiff is sweating right now. I'm not surprised that Nancy Pelosi is feeling the heat. But you know who is surprised? The people who have not realized up until now how the system of bribery and blackmail and how a lot of people in Congress think they can get away with anything is. This is a gentleman. His name is Stephen Klubeck. He is a former Swalwell donor. He's a billionaire. Made his fortune off of the major timeshare company called Diamond Resorts International. Sold it a couple years ago for a couple billion. He is fit to be tied, as a reporter is asking him. He's like, look, I'm not just done with Eric Swalwell. I'm done with Democrats. I was not banking on this. This is how some people are responding to this complete meltdown of the deep state and the Democrat Party.
Members of the United States, we deserve equal or greater value for our tax dollars. All right? And is it fair enough?
Yeah, I was going to say, fair to say you're mad. I mean,
mad?
Yeah.
I am no longer a Democrat. I'm now a libertarian Republican. Because that's what a blue dog Democrat used to be. Okay? It's called executing, being accountable, enforcing, respect, responsibility, and results. Knowing what your job description is. Delivering results. Unifying. Making this country great. The great brand we have, okay? Or we used to. Can we get it together, please?
Yeah.
Can we get it together, please? And you know what? When I ran for the governorship, I did it because I couldn't find a candidate that was worthy to back. And I thought Eric had the goods. But he didn't tell the truth. Okay?
Do you like any of these other options?
Too early to tell. Okay? Too early to tell. I met them all.
Making this country great, he says. It's funny. Even Democrats like that billionaire Swalwell donor can see what President Trump is doing. Meantime, we travel to the Strait of Hormuz. JD Vance is on with Brett Baer, and he's like, look, the fragments left of this Iranian regime have engaged in economic terrorism against the world, trying to control the flow of oil. And President Trump just went in there, and we trumped that hand. Listen.
And so that's how the blockade works. U.S. naval ships stop Iranian-flagged vessels going to the Strait, through the Strait of Hormuz?
Not just Iranian-flagged vessels, Brett, but any vessel that we know is going to Iranian ports or has come from Iranian ports. You're probably going to see some vessels try to reflag themselves, but of course we're going to know, because we have very good intelligence, which ships are going in and which ships are coming out that are connected to Iran. But Brett, here's the very interesting thing about all this is that the only thing the Iranians have been able to do, they haven't, of course, beaten us militarily. They've had their military been decimated. They haven't been able to prosecute the case when it comes to weapons of war. What they have done is engage in this act of economic terrorism against the entire world. They basically threatened any ship that's moving through the Straits of Hormuz. Well, as the President of the United States showed, two can play at that game. And if the Iranians are going to try to engage in economic terrorism, we're going to abide by a simple principle that no Iranian ships are getting out either. We know that's a big deal to them. We know that applies additional economic.
And Jesse Waters, we snagged one blip of his monologue yesterday, talking about how President Trump just called Iran's bluff by sending two monster destroyers straight up the strait.
The president's warning, if any Iranian ships come anywhere close to our blockade, they'll be immediately eliminated. U.S. Marines are ready to board Iranian oil tankers, and CENTCOM's ready to neutralize any Iranian fast attack boats that slip into the strait to cause mischief. One of Iran's surveillance drones flew too close to one of our destroyers, and we blew it out of the sky. And two tankers flying under false flags on their way to China were already intercepted and turned away. This is completely reversing everything Iran did to the strait. Now, every nation's ship in the world can sail out except Iran's. 15 American warships are involved in the operation. The mission to free the strait got underway this weekend when two guided missile destroyers sailed straight up the gut. The USS Frank E. Peterson and the USS Michael Murphy were the first two warships to bust into the strait since the start of the war. The regime threatened to attack if American ships entered. We did it anyway, and they did nothing. And we're about to start clearing the strait of mines, so oil tankers have a clear path out. The Iranians dropped some mines into the strait, but they forgot where they put them.
Right. So when we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, hour number 3, we've got to talk about the revenge and retribution. They say Trump is all about weaponizing the government against his opponents, which means that's exactly what they do. Proof of it next. I have to go to the bathroom. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be right back.
So to finish the story, she went ballistic. I tried to calm the situation, but she had already thrown down a binder. I mean, she scared the people in charge to the point that the one gentleman needed help getting out shaking. Like he was visibly upset and you just I mean, it's multiple things. You don't set motion detecting cameras up. It's such a violation. It's such a seedy. I mean, they have every right to do it. I get that, but they're sandbox, but not to tell people. And it's not like we were doing anything that was I mean, we planned the show. What you think you're gaining from that, I have no idea. Other than me being the one saying that, let's teach them how to make this better. Let's teach them how to sell. Because ultimately, any business, that's what it comes down to. So, understanding clients' mentality, understanding how to talk to them, even it's just not that. It's just not. Hey, you want to advertise? Okay, goodbye. But they went after me, and she had at that point we knew what they were doing, and I think it was the straw that broke the camel's back of them saying stuff to me. And like I said, it had built up, and they brought me in for meetings to tell us they're going to monetize our Facebook page.
It's no different than what we're watching, what they did to what they've tried to do to the Trump administration. Brock and I are trying to do the right thing. We are honest. We are straightforward about the spot. We started our show with we didn't need any sponsors. We had it all stacked. It was, who does that? Who has all of the slots? And then they wanted all of the contact names of our sponsors, and then went out and cold called all of our sponsors. And then they harassed our sponsors. And we were like, what? And it was
the sponsors were calling us being like, what's going on?
And it was relentless. And I was like, enough is enough.
And then you were finally done when I was on the roof fixing the internet.
Yeah, he had a seizure. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if he was going to be. I have no idea how you managed to do the show that day. But they came and gave him some orange juice and then walked out. Nobody cared. Nobody called. Nobody asked me how he was. Nobody sent flowers. Nobody was like, hey, what do you need? Oh, my gosh. I'm so sorry.
Do you want us to send somebody tomorrow?
There was nothing. And I was like,
and then
noted.
To top it all off is they then fired me, which I knew was coming. The writing was on the wall, and they fired her over email. And if you've been watching long enough, after the pledge, I used to say every time, play ball.
Yeah.
And they
put it in we weren't allowed to say that.
Yeah.
He wasn't allowed to say that.
Because I started it on.
That's how petty it was.
Yes.
Whatever. I mean, again, this is like me with American Journal as a 24-year-old. Like, I get it now. I understand how the big boys play. That it's not about honesty. It's not about hard work. It's about being a scumbag. And if you can be a scumbag and get away with it, why not? And if there's a system that runs cover for you, why not? Until somebody shows up and they're like, yeah, I don't like that game.
Yeah, it was all it was all very shady. Very, very shady. And once they got what they wanted and didn't like, I don't even say we didn't do anything. Like that's what the crazy thing was. But they brought me in for a meeting that wanted to monetize the page. I tell her, I'm like, no. I told them no, and she's like, yeah, absolutely not.
I'm not selling access to you guys. Yeah. I didn't make money off of that.
Right.
They're
right,
sure as F not gonna. Let me tell you. Go ahead.
They wanted to cut out the commercial breaks and run their own commercials on our Facebook page.
that we would
So
make
what
no
this,
money off
what
of.
we do here,
Yeah.
they wanted to get rid of and put ads up there.
I want to tell you guys about Health Revolution. I think this is such a great alternative to wondering about open enrollment and what kind of plan are you going to get. I need health insurance. How am I going to get it? It's too much money. I couldn't keep my doctor. I couldn't keep my insurance. It's been nothing but a nightmare. If you're under the age of 65, maybe you're a young person who just bounced off of family insurance. Maybe you're self-employed. Maybe you're on Cobra. Maybe you're young and healthy and you don't need maternity coverage and glasses or what have you. Why not create your own health insurance policy, your own plan, your own coverage, save 30, 60%. For most families, you're going to save hundreds of dollars a month every single time. If you're self-employed, paying for your own coverage on Cobra, just done overpaying, and you're under the age of 65, go to info.healthrevolution.net. Info.healthrevolution.net. 800-868-6187. 800-868-6187. No copays, reasonable deductibles, and the freedom to see any doctor you want. That's what we're talking about. You don't have to squeeze it into some parameter. You don't have to work around somebody else. Finally, health insurance that works for you. Info.healthrevolution.net. Get in touch with them. We know these people. We trust these people. I trust them. You can trust them. Ta-da!
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wendy Bell, America's anchor mom, fighting for America 1 hour at a time. Welcome to the family. She once hosted a 3-hour show in just 15 minutes. She once intimidated the Electoral College to audit itself. Her monologues are so sharp, they're considered a concealed carry weapon. Fact-checker sites routinely issue her a retraction a week in advance. Even her commercial breaks trend on social media. Her freedom of speech has diplomatic immunity. She doesn't just drain the swamp has to ask for cab fare. Wendy Bell is the most interesting conservative woman on radio. Keep rumbling, my friends. 3 hours of bold truth and excellence. You've just signed up for the WBR Army. Strap in. This is the Wendy Bell radio program.
Welcome back. Hour number 3 of the Wendy Bell radio program is live. You know, this whole wake up thing is, it's going to be hard for a lot of people. You know, I sometimes think about my sister who is a product of the information she allows herself to see. Isn't that kind of like all of us, though? Like, if you don't go beyond whatever your silo is, you're not going to know. Because long ago, we started being manipulated. Long ago, they stopped telling us the truth. The news wasn't about actual information. It was about propaganda. It was about guiding you. It was about leading you to the water. I don't want that. I woke up during COVID. And it's like waking up in the middle of the night. Once the wheels of your mind start moving, it's almost impossible to stop them. It's going to be hard for a lot of people. And it's going to be hard on many levels. Fundamentally, what I've been saying is that the system is broken. The system is broken, and it gave way to Donald Trump in 2016. The deep state punishes you for that. They hate you for that. This is why they call you names extreme MAGA Republicans. I want you to think about that for a minute. If you're an extreme MAGA Republican, you're a Republican person, conservative, who extremely believes in making America great again. What a terrible thing to be a part of, right? And they demonize it as though it's a bad thing. I think it's hilarious. You got this president trying to fix wars, getting warring countries to stop it already. Can people just freaking stop dying? Can we knock it off? Can we start getting into the golden age where everybody does okay, everybody does well? Or do we have to keep doing this? This is the first guy. Enough already. He represents an end to business as usual. Business as usual doesn't work. It's corrupt. It's bankrupt. And it keeps needing you and me to feed into it. Did you hear about this one? This is one of those things that I think the Biden administration was really all about revenge and retribution for you to President Trump. When they fiddled with that election, and come on, if your head is still in the sand about 2020, I can't help you. You do you. They were all out against you. You created Donald Trump. Trump didn't create you. Trump didn't create MAGA, a constituency of tired, loving of American people, or loving of American people who are tired of business as usual, decided to show up and make a difference. The New York Post has a very interesting article that's disgusting. It is about how the DOJ under Joe Biden was weaponized to prosecute specifically pro-lifers. People like Mark Howe, remember that? Pennsylvania father of 7. They rolled in with heavy armor for a guy who's like a sidewalk preacher, right? Whose pro-life calling, whose belief in the unborn led him to an abortion clinic where he was outside trying to convince people to change their minds. And when one jerk got in the face of his son, he pushed him and created this giant lawsuit. And all of these agents came, the FBI swarmed his property, morning dawn, scared the kids, the wife crying like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Spectacle for all the neighbors, purposeful. Optics are always purposeful with the deep state. Sends a message, you're next. Probably don't want to do what this person is doing, do ya? Right? Biden DOJ weaponized federal law to prosecute pro-lifers and give them longer prison sentences. Like, I don't even want to go beyond that. That's such a disgusting thing to say, that your government would go after you because if you're a pro-lifer, you're a Republican, you're a conservative, you voted for Donald Trump, I'm taking you down. That's deranged. Well, when you're used to being able to do whatever you want to do, and somebody comes along and threatens that, well, the Department of Justice, this is from the New York Post, Department of Justice under former President Joe Biden withheld evidence and approved aggressive arrest tactics when targeting pro-life defendants, and then slapped them with longer prison sentences than pro-abortion ones, according to an explosive internal review released today. The DOJ revealed the stunning abuses in a nearly 900-page report after examining more than 700,000 records related to the Biden administration's prosecutions under the FACE Act, the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances. The 1994 law was passed to protect access to houses of worship and religious institutions, abortion clinics, and pregnancy resource centers. But the Biden DOJ was found to have engaged multiple times in biased enforcement of it, while also collaborating with and even seeking to fund pro-abortion groups, according to the DOJ Office of Legal Policy report. Remember Merrick Garland? There's not 2 tiers of justice, 2 systems, one for Democrats and one for Republicans, one for Black people, one for white. I'm like, dude, you're telling us. Do you think we don't understand what you do? You come out and you say, no, we don't. They do it, but we know what you're all about. How dare you? And do you ever look in the mirror, Biden administration officials of yesteryear? Do you ever look at your own reflection and say to yourself, gosh, I am a filthy scumbag? Because that's how we see you. Former Attorney General Merrick Garland set up a national task force to pursue cases against pro-lifers the month after the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade in June of 2022. It's curious. Emails show the task force, led by Civil Division trial attorney Sanjay Patel, worked closely with Planned Parenthood Federation of America, Feminist Majority Foundation, and the National Abortion Federation security team to initiate investigations and monitor pro-life activists, sometimes for years, before requesting arrest warrants and filing charges. In a November 2021 email. Before the task force was launched, Patel had already praised the security director of the National Abortion Federation as being an MVP, as bringing incidents to my attention, often in real time, about people like Mark Houck, who are outside, sidewalk preaching to people going in to get abortions. Look, I could go more into the details of this particular article. Do you think that the DOJ under Joe Biden was not weaponized against Republicans? Of course it was. It was weaponized under Barack Obama. It was weaponized in many ways, even under Donald Trump. Weaponized under Joe Biden. Look at what they did to the January 6ers. Did any of us, was there one single person, a January 6th defendant, one single person who beat their case? Was there one who got off? Or did everybody have to pay some obnoxious penalty, serve months, if not years, in prison? For heaven's sakes. Enrique Tarrio, one of the main people, what is he, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, whatever the hell he is, he wasn't freaking in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, and he got 18 years in prison. How does that make sense? And then you and I were supposed to be like, well, I better just, I mean, I know that happened, but I don't think we should talk about that, because what if they come for us? And then all of a sudden, there's no more us's. Of course they're weaponized. Of course it's a dirty, nasty game. And of course it's all beginning to unravel, which is why Nancy Pelosi sure sounded a little frazzled in her octogenarian state when asked about Swalwell, when asked about insider trading, when asked about all of this stuff. She can slither off into the darkness with her $250 million nest egg that her insider trading. My husband Paul does all of the trades. I really have nothing to do with it. He and his gay lover with the hammer. That's what they're doing when I'm not around. At some point, the American people wake up and see and have enough. That billionaire donor guy who we played in the last segment, lifelong Democrat, big Swalwell supporter, big money giver. He says he's not just done with Swalwell. He's done with the party. Look, the Republicans are far from perfect. I believe the ones who are dirty ought to be called out, tarred, and feathered. However, if we look at the magnitude, the scope of the problem, it's 98% Democrats trying to do anything to destroy Trump. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, this is all very interesting, I believe. If the DOJ under Joe Biden was that corrupt, that weaponized, that bloodthirsty for anybody involving Trump, imagine how they lied to you about the jab. Did you guys hear about people getting medical procedures demanding pure blood? Huh. It's almost like we predicted this would happen. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. So their strategy is withhold evidence, approve aggressive arrest tactics, punish conservative defendants, give them harsher, longer prison sentences, right? This is why the DOJ the other day fired 4 prosecutors. Trump administration is cleaning house. I voted for that. So you have pro-lifers, old nuns, little old ladies out there, right? Lock her up. Really? That's how you feel like, honestly. If you went to, during COVID, if you went to the hospital and you weren't vaccinated, did you feel like you were going to get super duper treatment there? Did you feel safe there? Did you feel like the women in particular, the white college educated toxic liberal chicks, a lot of them nurses, right? You think you were going to get the best care? I didn't. You kidding? Right? Mm-mm. Mm. Let me tell you about Healthy Fat. thehealthyfat.com/Wendy. It is a powder. It is a delicious powder. You're already drinking water, right? One of the biggest struggles of the day is drinking enough water for me because it just makes me bloated. My belly gets big and I feel like a giant squish. And then I have to go to the bathroom all the time. And I'm like, so I don't drink it. Well, I need to drink more water. Why not just put a scoop of this in? Because what this is going to do as a dietary supplement, besides taste great, is it's going to completely crush your appetite for about 5 hours, which will mean that you can skip a meal. It's a dietary supplement that allows you to do that. So if you're hungry in the morning, maybe eat in the morning, skip lunch, instead drink this with your water. MCT Wellness from Dr. Gundry. Dr. Gundry lost 70 pounds doing this. So we give you a lot of various tools that might help you in your weight loss endeavors. This is just a delicious thing that I look forward to drinking every single day. And literally from, I start drinking it at noon. I'm not hungry until 4:30, 5 o'clock. And that's perfect. Perfect. So it's thehealthyfat.com/Wendy. It's called MCT Wellness. But if you go to thehealthyfat.com/Wendy, you'll find it there. Yum. It is really quite refreshing. I think you're going to like it. And then once you have it, you're like, every day I want it now, right? Are you sore? Has it caught up to you? Building the wall.
And cutting grass yesterday.
Yeah, there's a lot of physical activity going on, y'all.
It's catching up.
2.47. No? No. Okay.
And kudos to you guys that have been following us a while. When they fired us, they lost thousands of followers to their Facebook page. I mean, thousands like that. Because you went on when we still had the page, you went on and says, we're going to do something different. And kudos to her, like showing up after the first time I had ever really been fired. And, what are you going to do? I went and had a cigar. This one shows up with a 6-pack of beer and said, I'll bleep it out. F it. Let's do it ourselves. And that's how Wendy Bell Radio got started.
Well, I think finally it's like that donor guy. You get enough garbage and you're like, enough. Tapping out. Well, welcome back to the Wendy Bell Radio program. At some point, we're going to have an honest conversation about that dark chapter of American and world history called COVID. Right? Because it's not fair for people to be able to lie under oath. Anthony Fauci, scumbag. It's not okay for these medical companies to have gotten rich. It's not okay for pharma to have made new billionaires off of the suffering of the world. And it's not okay for people to have been hurt by that vaccine. If that ruffles your feathers, I don't care. I believe in telling the truth. Never before in our lives had we been told, get it or else. Get it or you get nothing else. Get it or don't come back to school. Get it or don't come back to the job. Get it. Get it now. And those of us who are like, yo, I trust nothing that y'all are talking about. You were an anti-vaxxer. You were demonized. And then you took comfort in being like, well, I really don't care what you think. I had the virus. I've got antibodies to the virus. It sucked. I'm glad I survived it. But can we move on and not ruin this economy? Well, apparently, the demand for pure blood from people who've never been vaccinated with the COVID vaccine, pure blood transfusions demand rises, and roadblocks continue to challenge fulfillment. Patriot TV. A growing number of patients, particularly parents of young children, are insisting on blood transfusions only from donors who never received the COVID-19 shots. Why ever would that be? Because we had legitimate questions and we weren't allowed to ask them. You guys remember the gentleman, Richard Hirschman, I had on? I do. He wasn't a doctor. He wasn't a coroner. He was an embalmer, his job. Wild job. But okay. It was to drain the fluid out of dead bodies so that they could be preserved with the correct fluids, presented at viewing, if that's what your culture or religion does, and then be buried or cremated. And he noticed all of the clots, the sinuous tendons that he was pulling out of the veins of the decedents on his table. It's almost like everybody saw it. But like Eric Swalwell, suddenly nobody knew anything about it. What? Eric Swalwell? He's trying to feel up girls? Shut up. He was such a great guy. Said nobody. A new Vanderbilt University study highlights the practical consequences, delays in care, strained hospital resources. In at least 2 documented cases, patients who grew significantly sicker after refusing standard blood products. It's a small study, 15 people, and a couple people ended up getting sicker as they demanded pure blood. No blood that's been tainted with the COVID vaccine. Why? Because there's rampant distrust of medicine. That's not your fault. You're not a bad person. You've got common sense. Embrace it. Lean into it. Show it to your children. Sprinkle it around. We need more of it. So many people finger wagged us. You don't care about people. And who fell in line blindly? The left. Hook, line, and sinker, driving around in their Jeeps without tops on, right? Wearing rubber gloves and masks all by themselves. And you're like, really? Do you not drive by a building and see your reflection and see how ridiculous you look? No. There is willful blindness, ladies and gentlemen, willful indeed. But then there's that dangerous, deadly thing, the propaganda, the influence campaign of COVID. Because they needed you to stay scared and stay home, so that they could send you your mail-in ballot, all 15 of them, so you could vote. Or is anybody out there even remotely surprised that people now have very little trust in any vaccine, that there's a huge precipitous drop-off in the number of people who are like, I need to get my annual flu shot. I'll never do it again. People are like, that's stupid to do. Really? Because my trust is earned. And pretty sure the medical community didn't earn mine during that fun little segment of U.S. history. So pure bloods, I understand. Now get into the habit of looking into children, young people, young adults, Gen Z, who are shopping around for non-vaccinated partners. It's almost like we said this was going to happen. You're going to create the haves and the have-nots. Have you gotten it? I have. I have not. I want to be with you. That's not bad for you. That's not making you a bad person. This is the reality of propaganda. This is the reality of a complete farcical campaign over a virus that never should have been tinkered with, that was with your money, that Anthony Fauci, the sexiest man in America, lied about under oath. Dude should be tarred and feathered. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, Freedom for Me, but not for thee. A proposal in California to strip undercover journalists their ability to record. What? That's creepy. It's creepy. So who is anybody out there surprised? I want blood, but only pure blood for my children. Mm-hmm.
We said the same thing about, for lack of better words, men who are unvaccinated.
What do you mean? Looking for women?
Yeah, women.
That's what I mean.
I'll just say it, for clean semen. Like if you want to, even if you want to go to a bank and get pregnant, would you want?
I didn't even think about that. That wasn't necessarily. Yeah, I get it. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, prime example. One of your sons was worried about it at a young age, saying, "What if she can never have kids?" Or
like literally, where you're on a date and you're like, "So, how you doing?
You
I'm
vaccinated?
Good. Are you vaccinated? No. Are you? No. Oh, thank God. Let's make out." Right? I mean, it's crazy. Bloodflow7.com. You want to talk about crazy? I'm going to tell you something right now. Bloodflow 7 by Juvenon is scientifically designed to support healthy circulation, so you feel energized, clear-headed, and vibrant again. True. Packed with natural ingredients like nitrosygene, S7 and transveratrol. Bloodflow 7 works by boosting nitric oxide levels. It's a molecule that relaxes blood vessels, helping your blood flow freely to every corner of your body. That means more oxygen and more nutrients to your brain, to your heart, to your muscles, and even places that need a little extra help as you age. With just one dose a day, you can reclaim your stamina, support heart health, and improve overall vitality, all without caffeine or stimulants. Yes. Try Bloodflow 7 today to feel the difference where it matters most, inside your veins. I remember when they told me about this, and I was like, how are you supposed to gauge? With Disinfect with Sniper, you could go somewhere and there's mold or something, and you're like, I wonder if this is going to get rid of that mold. And you're like, and you come back 5 minutes later and it's gone. You've got the visual. How do you quantify you've got more blood flow? You're like, oh yeah, it's better. Okay, then you feel it. And then you're like, wait a minute. I didn't used to walk up the steps carrying the laundry basket without huffing and puffing. And now it's like, you want to get on my back? I'll carry you too. If you walk or you run or you lift or you do whatever that gets your heart rate up, you're going to notice you can go farther. You can walk higher. You can do things longer than you used to. It's amazing. Your recovery is faster and you feel stronger. I'm just going to say it's the greatest thing I ever took. And I'm not going to stop taking it. If they call me tomorrow and they're like, we hate you.
You already subscribed.
I know. We hate you. I'd be like, oh, I can still get it though, right? Bloodflow7.com/Wendy. Bloodflow7.com. This is going to give you this. Alpha Gold Male is this for men. It involves testosterone. It understands your body. Your hormones are different than mine, even though I have high T. I do. It's called Alpha Gold Male. Same discount. GLP-1 Gold, the weight loss one, same discount, all the same website, bloodflow7.com/Wendy. Sniper, thank you guys for the sale. Thank you for buying Harmony. Thank you for supporting our friend who's a wonderful guy, right? Thank you for buying the greatest hospital grade antibacterial disinfectant deodorizer you'll ever have in your life. Period. Disinfectwithsniper.com. It's just
everything on there is good.
That's all I need to say. Let's see how you guys are doing, because it sort of seemed like you were doing well. 2.52.
Have you ever thought about all the things that have come out of you saying, F it, let's do it ourselves?
What do you mean?
Have you ever stepped back and thought, boy, what's come from this? The freedom of obviously working for yourself, but prime example, she's on the stream today. Cousin Allison.
Oh.
Right? You're more connected now,
Cousin Allison has always supported me.
Yeah.
Always.
Jolene started a business. Where did it start? Not saying because of this, but there's just a lot of things that came forward and makes you think. And it is
Crescent Mountain Coffee.
It is because of you guys, because you show up every day.
100%. I mean, that's why we work on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That's why we show up on the 4th of July.
Friendship with Sean.
You created basically a personality, a radio personality, podcaster, and Sean Parnell because he didn't know what he was doing. I at least had broadcasting experience. I didn't know about radio.
I remember Sean going, "Don't worry, I've done hits on TV." I'm like, "My man, it's different when they're asking you questions and you're responding as to
It's different than
doing
when
a
you're
show."
hosting your own show.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Huge difference.
It's a lot. I love you guys though. And it's funny. You're very supportive of me. I'll start reading something and I drift off into the ether and you hang with me. So thank you.
This next story.
It's preposterous. You're not against freedom of speech without telling me you're not against freedom of speech. Isn't it funny? Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. You have Don Lemon, right, from fired from CNN, what have you. He's trying to make a name for himself. Podcaster, everybody wants to know, how are we going to get the juice? Squeeze it, all right. And he goes and he invades a St. Paul church and scares the bejeebers out of the people inside months after a nearby school shooting had killed multiple kids, right? Like a terrible judgment every which way in the world. And out comes the, Gloria Allred of the left for, Hunter Biden. Now it's Don Lemon's attorney, Abby Lowell, defending this guy, Don Lemon, right? For his horrendous judgment under the guise of it's my First Amendment right to be able to go do whatever. You're not allowed to do that, Don. You can't barge into a house of worship and prevent people from exiting. That's scary as stones, you moron. But now all of a sudden in California, after Nick Shirley is gone and blew up their whole hospice and welfare fraud, nonsense, daycare crap, what's the response to that? Is it, holy cow, hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars stolen from American taxpayers because of California? Was it outrage? Like, oh my gosh, we got to hit the brakes. We got to figure out where this grift is coming from. We got to fix it once and for all now. No, knives out against Nick Shirley. People like James O'Keefe from O'Keefe Media Group, formerly Project Veritas. Knives out for people like Mehmet Oz and others who want to go and expose the fraud and the corruption and how easy it is to fleece the American taxpayer when you have Democrats and deep state hacks in charge. And so did you hear what happened now? YouTuber Nick Shirley slams California bill claiming it would stop videos exposing fraud. Wait a minute. What? California is trying to pass a law, this bill, in the General Assembly that basically makes it illegal for people who are citizen journalists to record video of people doing stuff they ought not. Wait, what? You're going to punish the exposer and not the guilty party? Of course. Let's go. Conservative influencer and YouTuber Nick Shirley called out a proposed California bill Monday that he argued would criminalize investigative journalism, including his viral efforts to expose fraud in the state. Right? We're not going to change the fraud. we're not going to drill down on the theft of from the American people, generational theft, right? Stealing from your children and grandchildren that you haven't even had yet. We're not going to drill down and stop that. We're going to go after the people who are exposing it because that makes sense. That is the way. The enemy truly is within, Nick Shirley said, when our politicians would rather protect fraudsters and illegal migrants. It's time for us to stand up or face mass oppression from the traitors who rule over us, he said. So interesting. The legislation, which one Republican lawmaker dubbed the Stop Nick Shirley Act, is aimed at boosting privacy for immigrant services providers, authored by Assembly member Mia Bonta. Do you know who Mia Bonta is? Anybody? She's Rob Bonta, California Attorney General Rob Bonta's wife. And she took his position in the General Assembly when he became Attorney General. He was basically named Attorney General of the state. And he was able to bequeath to his wife, here is my seat. Oh, so curious that the Rob Bonta, who's accused of spending $500,000 in campaign donations on his own defense of being involved in some criminal mastermind with the Dong brothers. Like, you can't make it up. And it's his wife who's pushing this. The measure would outlaw sharing the photo or personal data of a provider on the internet for harassment or violent purposes. So if Nick Shirley goes to a daycare provider, a quality leering center, say in the Bay Area, and he's like, wow, it's really interesting because according to these records provided to us from the state, there should be 92 children in that daycare. And we don't see anyone. You're not allowed to record that. Huh? It would mirror a similar program for domestic violence survivors. Are you kidding me? Individuals who provide immigrant support services, including legal aid, humanitarian relief, case management, and advocacy, are facing targeted harassment. This is not hypothetical, Bonta said at this hearing last week. Really? Such protections against incidents of doxing and death threats are especially needed under the Trump administration, she added. These threats have risen sharply in 2025 and are expected to continue due to the current political climate. No, so what we have going on, Mia. Mia, you should be worried about your husband, not Nick Shirley, sweetie bug. Okay, let me just talk woman to woman for a minute, okay? If you want to be in on the generational theft from not just the California people and taxpayers, but the entire country, that's on you. But when independent journalists go and do the job that the regular journalists that long ago stopped doing that job, then you want to go after those people because you know they're exposing you and you don't want anybody to know what you've been up to. Right? I'm not some inner rocket scientist. This is so clear. These threats have risen sharply. It's not about the Trump administration, obviously, guys. So pay close attention to what the strategy here is. We're going to come after people who are interested in finding out the truth. Because we have been ripping you off for so damn long that we, quite frankly, don't know how to feed ourselves if we don't have this money coming in. Literally, everybody's looking at an Eric Swalwell situation. My wife is going to leave me. My kids are going to hate me. No woman is ever going to look at me again in any other way than a sexual predator. I'm losing my job in Congress. I'm quite literally talented to do nothing. I'm now toxic waste material that nobody can touch. All of this is on the same path. We knew that it was ripe for fraud, and so we created need. Oh my gosh, all of these migrants, they all have autism for some reason. Hurry, let's spend more. Let's create more outreach services, more home health services, right? And when Nick Shirley goes and he's like, why does everybody here have a Lamborghini or a McLaren? What is that the name of the car? I don't know if that's what it is. I think it is. Why does everybody drive a $200,000 vehicle? And he starts asking, according to this Mia Bonta and this Stop Nick Shirley Act. It's not called that, but essentially is. These people can run under the stars and be protected, right? Is it the most ridiculous thing you've heard? I don't know. There would also be criminal penalties if people like Nick Shirley who decided to go record and put that on social media. Look at the Childhood Learning Center, right? I want you to hear California State Assemblyman David Tangapa. I forget. I never can pronounce this guy's name. But he's out in front, sort of like Carl DeMaio is. Always as assemblyman there, very staunchly conservative, pushing the right things. And he's like, look, what a ridiculous trampling of the First Amendment. Why are Democrats so desperate? What are they so desperate to hide that they don't want somebody like Nick Shirley snooping around? Listen.
A government that diminishes transparency has something to hide. And now the state of California has proposed a bill that would ban people like Nick Shirley, James O'Keefe, and other organizations out there that are doing investigative journalist work. One, if they are videotaping some of these nonprofit organizations, they could be criminally charged. They could be gone after civilly, up to $4,000 in some cases, and potentially $10,000. Think about how crazy this is in the state of California, where they have reduced laws on child predators. They have early release laws for violent individuals, all in our prison systems. But yet they want to add more penalties to potentially investigative journalists. Think about how crazy that is. In this state, this law is probably more than likely unconstitutional because it bans open public videotaping. And not only that, these nonprofit organizations get government funds. We give them money. What are they doing that they want to hide? And again, a government that diminishes transparency has something to hide. We need people to get involved before they try to punish you for trying to expose these issues.
And how long ago? It was probably about 2 years ago that we told you about California State Senator Scott Wiener. This is the guy who fancies himself, if I'm not mistaken, as the guy who should take Adam Schiff's House seat. Isn't that what he's running for? I forget or Nancy Pelosi's seat or whatever it is. Right? He fancies himself a state senator who's going to jump and fail forward into the United States House of Representatives. He is a gay man. I don't care about that. But when your gayness starts to fiddle with children who are being raped by adults, this Scott Wiener guy was the guy who's like, look, I mean, if a grown-up wants to have sex with a 16-year-old, it should be allowed. I mean, really, they're so close to being legal. And the California General Assembly voted in favor of a measure that would lower the criminal threshold for having sex with a 16 or a 17-year-old. So instead of it being a felony, which it freaking should be, it's a misdemeanor. I know that you're attracted to children, but can you try not to do that again? Here's a slap on your wrist, okay? This is what we're up against in the state of California. Now, I have to ask you this. With Eric Swalwell out of the mix, obviously the Democrats in California feeling the heat. God forbid we should have citizen journalists come out of the woodwork and all start snooping around their streets trying to figure out what the bejeebers is going on. You've got two very capable Republican candidates for governor willing to step in and fix California. And that's exactly what they're trying to stop. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, let's tie it up in a bow, shall we? Next.
So I have a question. If they want to shut down Nick Shirley and call it investigative journalism,
what's
by logical, the logic response thought is, aren't they going to do, then any CNN investigative journalist can't do anything because they're shutting down Nick Shirley. Well, if CNN finally gets it, or your guy from News Nation who always goes around, so he can't do it?
Rich McHugh.
Or
you
only news stations
You
allowed
guys are
to do it.
trampling real hard on the First Amendment.
On top of that, why can't Nick Shirley do it and then file whistleblower complaints showing you fraud? There's no way this flies. This is going to go to the Supreme Court, and they're going to laugh their way out and be like, no, you guys are complete
Meanwhile,
morons.
California has some actual problems that it needs to address in a big, bad way, I'm thinking. Right? So how do we want to? China defies Trump's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. It's very easy to see that who they've gotten to, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I wonder, has anybody followed any of the audience sizes of these people like Candace Owens or Megyn Kelly? I'm curious if there's been a change in their viewership. I don't know how many people. I know that Alex Jones gets sometimes hundreds of thousands of live views, which is just baffling, but okay, good for him. What should we talk about here, Brock? Not sure I have.
They're Democrats have nothing.
Oh, my heavens.
Absolutely nothing.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh.
Huh.
On your way. Cut off the presses. Who Joe Biden really wanted for VP. Trust me.
But he made a deal with Clyburn.
Yep.
Right? You know what? She's been kind of quiet. We'll hold this one. Maybe this will be fun to share with you guys. We can share a couple newsy little juicy tidbits hot off the press. What do any of these people who want to trot out as the next president for the Democrats, what do they offer? What is Amy Klobuchar going to do for you? Because she hasn't done it in Congress. What makes you think she's going to do it as president? What about Pete Buttigieg? So he's a gay guy. And he grew a mountain man beard. So he's more manly. Nobody cares that you're gay. We care that you suck. That didn't come out right. We care that you're a lousy. Sorry.
I just think the Nick Shirley thing it's so telling how they view the press. They know they have them in their back pocket.
Mm-hmm. Bell radio program. It bothers me that I would see the piling on of Eric Swalwell and defend him even in the slightest. But this whole Me Too thing, look, all of this stuff that woke DEI feeling, identity politics, box checking mumbo jumbo the left foisted upon us. It's all so distracting. It's all meant to water down the gene pool so that meritocracy isn't something that's striven for, whatever. It's all about what you look like. It's all about what we can say about you. Well, 25% of our staff is black or minority. Oh, you must be really great. It's so dumb. But the Me Too thing was... that was screaming with danger signs, wonk, 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 from the very beginning. Now, granted, I'm a mom of 5 boys. I get it. I looked at it and I was like, look, any young lady who happens to be alone with any of my sons could claim anything under the stars and probably destroy my boy's life. I can't be allowed to be this new society. And we're shocked. Gen Z boys and girls aren't talking. You don't say. So this is new, just breaking. A young woman who alleges disgraced Rep. Eric Swalwell once tried to lure her to a hotel room. After sending her pervy messages on Snapchat, says she constantly thinks about how she dodged a bullet, saying the close call left her shaken to the core. I mean, come on, honey. Stop it. This is called, I got to get in on this. I got to get in on this. People are, I'm just going to say, I could be way off base. But something that didn't happen to you doesn't wake you up in the middle of the night, I doubt. It doesn't consume you. You're not rattled with anxiety. I need to see my therapist. Please. Breaking her silence for the first time, Annika Albrecht told CBS News on Tuesday that the married congressman started interacting with her soon after she met him on a class trip in college. Oh, God. She claims Swalwell, who initially started chatting to her under the guise of a professional mentorship, quickly asked for her snap. Eventually, she alleged the messages crossed the line to sexually inappropriate before he hit her with the hotel thing, the invite. I keep thinking about how lucky I am that I didn't go to that hotel, Albrecht said, adding that she immediately stopped responding to him. It was very clear what the connotation was. Is that really breaking news? Is that something we're going to break in live for? He sent me a message. I thought it was pervy, so I didn't go. But I'll tell you what, it's ruined my life. Now, here's what all of these accusers can hope for. And Brock brought this up. It is a very chewy tidbit we can discuss. So what did they just bring out, Brock? The Treasury just did. Secretary Besant just said that there's a new whistleblowers thing.
Yeah, you're going to get a percentage of the fraud that's recovered.
I think it's like 30%.
Yeah.
Ooh. So wait a minute. So if Eric Swalwell blows the whistle on some kind of ridiculous fraud operation that he knows about, and he gets immunity for all that he does if he testifies against these people, he could become loaded.
Oh.
Right? Am I wrong?
No, I wouldn't think so. It's the same with Nick Shirley. If he claims whistleblower status, how many billions? They found 19 billion in Minnesota. What's 30% of 19 billion?
Wow. Hey Siri, what's 30% of 19 billion? Let's see what we got here. 5 billion, 7. I don't know if Nick can make ends meet with that.
He's still gonna have to go to Feeding His Friends Future or whatever, and still go to Leering centers.
But seriously, think about this. If Eric Swalwell, he could absolutely, why not? Why don't they give him that option? We'll let you have 1%. And then you can fend off all of these lawsuits that are going to come for you. And then you'll have actual money to pay, right? Look, this whole thing is ridiculous. And I'm going to go back to the very beginning. You have a president who's laser focused on Iran. He's grabbing the Strait of Hormuz. He's punishing vessels that are trying to load up on the Iranian side. Nope, you're not allowed to go. All the other ships are. You've got 171 tankers en route around the tip of Africa to come around and go and fill up here at our ports here in the United States. You've got gas prices coming down, or at least crude oil prices per barrel coming down. You've got all of this stuff happening. President Trump is controlling the world's oil supply, and we're making money off of it while everybody is getting what they want. It's just kind of the most remarkable thing. And think about all the swings and the misses, all of the times they teed it up to destroy this man, the fake news, the bogus intelligence, the conniving manipulation and coordination of leaking it to the media running with it and putting out the fake news that ultimately comes back now to us, where we get to decide. So who was the victim here and who was the felon? Oh, things are getting spicy. Come on back tomorrow. Bring a friend. Love you guys. Have a great day. Peace.